let's get showing all of us here. Alright, so, hello everyone, I am Code Phoenix. I was a former Splitgate 1 MVP map creator. I am the owner of Splitgate Architects, and with me are two other hosts. Let's start with Koma here. You want to introduce yourself?
I'm Coma. I was also another Splitgate 1 MVP and map builder. I do some content stuff on YouTube as well, such as tutorials for the lab. So it's pretty much all I do.
And then Yurgi?
Yeah, and I'm Yurgi. I was just a map builder in Splitgate 1. Didn't really do much outside of that. Recently started my own channel just to kind of show off my builds and the process I go through. So,
Alright, and then with us is our guest star today, Garrett, if you want to introduce yourself.
Um, so I'm Garrett. I work on the level design for 1047 games on Splitgate 2, and I also work on the map creator feature. So if you have questions or anything pertaining to those two aspects, I can help out. Anything else is kind of speculation, but feel free to jump in and we'll see if we can take a look.
Yeah, we're really happy to have you here. Like, we're all map creators here, so it's nice to have you on board.
yeah,
Um,
we've been kind of excited for this to kind of get you in and ask you all the questions we have. So,
yeah.
thank
All
you
the
for,
juicy
for,
ones,
for
yeah.
being here. Yeah, of course. Okay.
So-
Yeah.
So how about we just get started? Like, can you walk us through like basically your career in the gaming industry, Garrett?
Sure. So my background started in games and design back in Halo 3, starting as a forger, just like a lot of you guys.
Yeah.
I think most level designers in the industry have this kind of background where
Yeah.
you start in some kind of editor of some kind, whether it's like Far Cry or Trench Broom. Like it doesn't really matter the tool. We're all kind of doing the same thing. We all kind of catch the same bug, where you're just obsessed with geometry and spaces and gameplay.
Mhm.
And that bit me back in Halo 3, and I designed maps in 3 and in Reach right after, before I kind of decided that maybe I should do this professionally. I I got a map built called Nexus into the MLG playlist and used at MLG tournaments and stuff like that. And that's when it kind of hit me like, hey, maybe I should try, something is here clearly. And my experience outside of that is actually in automotive. So I was an automotive technician for like 15 something years. I'm a little on the older side. So but that's how I got into it. And once I did that, there wasn't really a clear pathway back in like the early 2010s to get into this professionally. Most people were doing it just by like reaching out and jumping in. There wasn't like a training class you could take, or at least not near me, right? I couldn't find anything. And I'm in Southern California, so the options here were like community college and like take art classes, or you could go to some specialty schools, which were mostly geared towards art. And there's a few. One of the big ones is Nomen in Hollywood, which is like a private sort of thing, mostly geared towards art. Sometimes they had some design focused stuff, but you have to interview with them, and they didn't know what to do with me. So I ended up taking community college classes and learning like 3D modeling tools like Maya. I learned animation and stuff like that, and ended up not taking the career path. I moved up to the Bay Area at the time to go like support my wife as she was going to college as well. So I kind of put that sort of career side on pause and made sure that she got her education off the ground. And then it wasn't until 2020 again where I decided to try and give it another chance when the pandemic was hitting. Everyone was kind of at home, people were playing more games, and I reached out to Blaze. Blaze was the first person I reached out to, and I said, "Hey, man, I want to get back in the industry. What do I do?" And he pointed me in the right direction. We ended up working together at the first studio that I started at, in 2020, which is called Nowa. They have a sister company called GameBop that kind of did mobile stuff.
Nope.
I think we lost him there.
Let's go check what's going on with Discord here.
And I did a video of it.
Oh, Garrett's
Oh,
back.
it's back already.
Maybe we'll talk about the faction survey later.
Yeah, we'll talk about it later. I wasn't expecting you to get back that quick, but here we are.
Good
My
thing.
computer's been freezing recently, and the timing couldn't have been better.
Aw,
Right.
that sucks. That's fine.
Yeah, you had an
Yep.
interesting freeze frame there for a second.
Yes.
We love
That's great.
Splitgate here, so we always can find something else to talk about whenever that
Yeah.
happens. So
We haven't done a podcast in a while. We could do 3 hours by ourselves, I think.
yeah, I mean that's how long the
Yeah.
last one was, just by ourselves. So
Right.
Yeah.
all right, so
Okay, I'm back.
so yeah,
Alright.
leaving off what you're saying, basically Blaze helped you get back into the gaming industry, right?
Yep. And
Indeed, yeah.
you got your first job. It was with what, On or Now?
Nowa.
Nowa.
Nowwa. Nowa.
And-
Yeah. So we worked on a game called Bulletville together, and it's kind
Oh,
of like
yeah.
a action shooter parkour hero thing.
Mhm.
And it was a
Yeah.
ton of fun. There's like all these crazy mechanics and stuff to play with in level design. So that was quite a good time. We did run out of money, ran out of funding for the team, and had to move on. And then I started here it's been quite a while now. I started here in February of 23. So after like the transition to 2 already occurred.
Yeah.
And still fairly early in that process, but trying to think, there's a few maps that were already in production at that point. Some of them that we see now, like Core, was being worked on when I started. Frontier, some of those are the older maps, and you can kind of tell as time goes on, like we started to change our approach a little bit, and we're still trying to dial in our approach, dial in what maps that we're making and the styles and stuff like that. So I think it is
Honestly,
still evolving.
now that you said that Frontier and Core are an earlier map, I can kind of see that in the level design. It feels like you guys were trying to keep the play a little bit more grounded, not as much aerial play, almost.
Indeed,
I-
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I guess that makes a lot of sense considering for most people who don't know. I think we could talk about this as the early versions of Ozone and Frontier and Splitgate 1. Obviously, what is it? Neon Sector was a blockout back in Splitgate 1 because that was during the
Correct, yeah.
Blocktober event.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That was
Um,
by Blaze.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
Blaze
And-
did Neon Sector, and then Sam took over and turned that into
Yeah.
Core for the first Splitgate 2, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
because Sam just remade the original. I think it was Ozone. I think that's what he said it was, the original Ozone blockout, and kind of remade it, redid it for Splitgate 2's map creator for the lab, and that was kind of cool to see it kind of come back in its own unique way, you know.
Yeah. Try
So,
hard.
but
I
try
think
hard,
so.
yeah.
Try hard. You guys may see that sometime soon,
Uh,
in a bigger
Hey,
setting. So we'll see.
yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, when I
that'd be
saw
cool.
that posted in the catalog, I got a little excited to see it. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, that was really cool because I remember us seeing it before, and obviously we kept it under wraps because typically, you know, I forget who originally said anything about the codes, but when the codes came out, I think we reached out or someone reached out to Ian and was like,
Yeah. So to my
"Yeah,
understanding,
what are our limits?" You know?
yeah, to my
Yeah, I
understanding,
think I remember
Ritz
around that
I
time.
think it was Ritz that got in contact with Ian and got like permission to share like the official map codes so that like people can monkey around the official maps in Splitgate 1 in Map Creator. And there was like a few extra stuff, like a few of those Blocktober maps, but apparently a few of them wasn't supposed to be given to us. and basically
Yeah.
Ian was like, "Hey guys, can you just not share those out anywhere? But can we remove that from the list?" So that quickly got So yeah, there was a few maps that got like removed from that list, and a couple of them was the the Ozone, the Frontier, like the earlier versions of them
Yeah.
for
Yeah,
Splitgate
I
2.
remember that. Yeah, it
So, yeah.
wasn't like for us, I think obviously if we're still testing stuff, we kind of want to keep it under wraps, but I think we've just been appreciative of you guys with the audience, like taking care of us in situations like that. So we
Yeah,
appreciate it for sure.
I was gonna say, a lot of us who are really involved in the community, we just love this game and want to see it do good. For us, that's really the only goal.
Cool, yeah.
So
I
what were you gonna
Yeah,
say,
go ahead.
Coma?
I was about to say, I do remember there was one map that was in all the files that never made it to full release. Not entirely sure about that map, because again, you probably can't say much about it,
Yeah,
whether or not
you
it will
probably
be released.
can't.
In
I don't even know which one. I don't even know which one you're talking about. So, I mean,
Yeah,
there's been
that's
quite
why
a
it's hard
few
to
that have come in
explain,
and
you
out,
know.
and
Yeah, it's just
not everything we
Yeah.
work on is gonna make production. So,
Yep.
Yeah, I
That's
kind of
fair, too.
figured.
Yeah, I imagine there's a lot of blockouts that are made that just never get to full art. You know.
yep, that's the
I
name
was
of the
about
game.
to say, look at Tryhard. The original design for Ozone was vastly different comparing it to our current day Ozone.
Mm-hmm.
It's like very different.
That's part of that is because Sam likes to he likes to redesign everything from scratch. He'll do it in a weekend and be like, I had this crazy man weekend and like check out what I made. Like Sam is a genius. Like this guy cranks
So
things out.
he'll make something, and like if something works, then he'll just go through and like just tweak that, or will he just do it from scratch again?
It depends, right? Like if there's a few things that are slightly off, maybe that's for him salvageable. Like I like to work through something, like everyone has their own process. I
Mhm.
like to work through something and like really kind of take it like clay and just mold it until I get it in the right space. And sometimes that means it's more of a challenge to fix some of the bigger issues versus starting over, right? Sam has the mindset of let me just start fresh, see what I missed the first time.
Oh,
Maybe I'll come up with something new.
Yeah, that's how I
And
work.
at,
Yeah.
and he's also very fast, so
yeah.
that benefits that sort of process as
I
well.
was gonna say I kind of know what you're talking about because I've remade and also just fixed a couple portions of multiple of my maps, and there's times where it's really easy just to make a couple changes to fix the problem you're having on the map. But there's other times where you're just running into this problem and there's no real small way to fix it, and you just get to a point where you're like, I'm just gonna start from fresh, completely
Mhm.
redesign this whole portion. And it sometimes is just easier to do that than it is to try and manipulate a portion of the map to then have a whole nother portion just get messed up too.
Yeah, especially with portals.
Yeah.
Like portals require a network, right, to really function properly.
Mhm.
And that is a challenge to retrofit, and we've done retrofitting and it's not easy. But sometimes it pays off. I think the changes that we did were kind of small on Ozone, but Frontier and Zenith both I think were greatly improved on some small quick changes that we were able to put together. It's not going to reinvent the map, right? But it will give you more options, potentially improve the flow. Like there's ways to improve stuff, and we've definitely uh, been open about trying to take things that we've already produced and improve it, right? Like we don't expect the first thing to go out the door is absolutely perfect, and um, sometimes it's pretty good and we're quite happy with it. Others, we want to improve. So I think that process is still expected moving forward to some extent.
Yep.
Yeah.
Is it okay if I ask a quick question?
Sure, yeah.
While we're talking about just reworking maps and stuff, are there any current maps that we have access to that are getting reworks in the near future?
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
That's
Ooh,
Spicy.
yes.
the only that's the only thing I'll say. Yes.
Hey, that's all I wanted.
Yep.
That's great to hear because there's
Okay.
definitely a couple maps where there was some small tweaks I personally would like to see, but nothing like crazy. Honestly, I've been really happy with the level design that you guys have been giving us, honestly.
Yeah, I think like that's been a hot topic for sure.
Yeah,
Right?
it has
Like
been.
I mean, we could just get the elephant out of the room now and we could talk about that. I think like philosophy wise, earlier in production, we were very much on a hey, let's try to do this where it's going to be a bit easier for newer players to digest.
Which is
And
understandable, to be honest.
yeah, coming from the first game, like the first game blew up so huge, but
Mhm,
also fell off so fast. We wanted to like most of the things that you see is us attempting to find what's going to get people to stick around. And part of
yeah.
that in level design is like, okay, don't make the portals so overwhelming where some new players are just going to like not even want to turn the game on, right?
Mhm,
So part of our philosophy has and probably will continue to be that new players have to be able to enjoy the game too, right? We
Yep.
just have to get new players. We have to get casual players to be involved. Like the casual and competitive scene need to support each other, right?
Mhm,
They need to both be healthy in order for the player base to be healthy. And obviously that's a challenge for us right now, and we're trying to find the right approach, the right mix, and we're learning along the way, right? We're taking in feedback. I'd say for the map philosophy in general, like we've loosened up over time, right? We're trying to bring more of those moments back. We're trying to incorporate more portal walls that are not just on the walls, but on the floors and ceilings and angled.
mhm.
We're bringing in more of the launch portals, which are super fun.
So much fun.
Like you don't need momentum for these things. They're a great way for a brand new player to jump in and be immediately flying. So
Yep.
we're trying to find where those fun things are and bringing them in when they make sense, right? We
Mhm,
want to make sure that there's still intention behind what we're doing.
mhm.
And it's a challenge, right? When you're trying to serve, uh, being a sequel, we now have a group of players that were here for a previous game, and that means they have expectations. So trying to
Mhm,
balance that, trying to bring in new players, trying to find our footing, like all these things are challenging in a game with such a unique and powerful mechanic. So we're still working on it.
Yep.
But I think you guys have seen we've loosened up on it over time, and we're bringing more of that back. And future maps are definitely going to incorporate this more, as I've
That's
said in the past. So
yeah. That's one thing I've said too is I always kind of got the feeling that the first couple maps we're getting were meant to be a little bit more casual friendly to where new players who are coming in aren't getting overwhelmed right away. And then maybe as we evolve more, some of the new maps that come out might get a little bit more um I wouldn't say advanced or complicated, but more just of that high level of skill gap that can be had.
yeah, and there's a way to capture both. There's a great talk on YouTube from GDC where they talk about like what is the mother of all maps? Like how do you make a perfect map, right, where it serves a casual and competitive audience? And it's very rare, right? The
Mhm,
challenge is you could probably count what does that on your hand, like on one hand, right, in the whole history of FPS games. And so that's not a realistic goal. And so a better goal is usually create a big roster of maps where you have things that serve multiple audiences, right? Because
mhm.
even if you really enjoy a map, someone else probably hates it, right? No matter what I do to a map, there will be people that hates it. Like I guarantee you there's people that
Yeah.
hate lockout,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
There's gonna be people that hate lock. It's overrated or whatever, right? There's got to be people that are just tired of dust, right? They're just out there for sure. Um, and so like we just the best thing you can do is have a big roster, fill a lot of areas instead of just trying to make the perfect map every single time. Also, time wise, like we can't. There's no way you could afford sitting there to just iterate forever, right? It
Yeah.
has to go out the door at some point. And that helps us get feedback on the next one, right? And there is a turnaround time. Things don't just happen overnight. It takes a little bit for those things to come into place for us to figure out what the right changes are, um, and build towards it and implement it and get the team on board. Art, QA, engineering, like everything has to be put towards that effort. It's not just why don't you change it in 5 minutes, right? So it's a
Yeah.
process and we're learning for sure.
You know,
Um, I have one question. I don't know if you're going to be able to answer this, but was in terms of this current graffiti kind of like event going on right now, was Ozone the original idea of just re like arting it in a way, or was there originally going to be a map for the event instead?
I mean, that's more on a different team to have that answer.
Okay. Yeah.
If you're talking more about like, how are reskins tied into events? We
It was
try to
I was more curious on like if that was like the original idea, right? That like I don't know.
honestly, I don't think I have the answer for that.
Okay. Yeah,
Um,
that's fine.
I couldn't say.
The
Find a
map looks
spending question,
great, you
maybe.
know. It I don't think it's probably not a Ben because as far as I'm aware, Ben does all the game modes and stuff like that, so he
Yeah,
probably wouldn't have that answer
he's
either.
probably involved with the graffiti, I would think.
Maybe, but it feels like it's more of an art
yeah,
thing.
that's
I'm
feels
talking
like an
about the
art
map
decision.
itself.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah,
talking about the map
okay,
itself, the
gotcha.
tagging map, you know,
Yeah.
not intentionally the game mode itself because it's all
Yeah,
tied together. But I was curious nonetheless.
so that's going to be on the live service team. People that might know the answer to that would be like Derek. I think Sam Bloomberg worked on the game mode, Ciliax. So if you see him in game, feel free to
Oh, okay.
chase
Yeah.
him down and
Shoot
ask
him
him.
questions.
But yeah, I think we try to typically tie anything that we're doing with those reskins to some kind of event. Like we want it to be a bigger thing than just its own. Like, hey, here's the thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, philosophy on that, you'd have to ask someone else though, unfortunately.
Okay.
Someone in chat had a question here. He said uh what does Garrett think about the level design of the arena maps? Objectively, were they made by thinking about TP routes and comp? I don't know what he means by TP. Do you guys know what that means?
Triple portal.
Oh yeah.
Portal routes.
Yeah.
Where is this question? I don't see it.
It's in my
It's from
Twitch chat.
Shenzhen.
Shenzhen FPS.
Yeah.
You might have to refresh Twitch on your end or something.
Yes.
If you need a screenshot, you can just screenshot it, send to the chat or something.
I
Okay,
think I
so
lost stuff because I
basically
I
what I
froze
think,
up.
See it now?
yeah, he's trying to ask, how do you
Oh, how do
think
we
about,
think about maps before we build them?
yeah, like for competitive play in esports?
Yeah.
Oh, did we make the map and then place triple portals? I see. So, no, the way you make maps, you kind of have to plan your routes. Sometimes it'll start with like a basic premise. Like I know there's going to be maybe some launch portal through mid, and that's going to have to like be supported by certain flank routes. And then you start from an area and you build your network out with the map typically.
Mhm.
You can do this on paper too. Like if you do a top-down sketch, you can say, hey, here's the layout, and you can kind of see where portal surfaces would be up against walls or whatever. You can kind of map it out that way. I typically do it as I'm building the map. I look at places where I want the player to go, and I start building my network with the geometry. So I do it in unison typically. But it depends on what you want to do, right? Like if you're really good at planning, if you're really like I notice a lot of people that are good with 2D software, like Photoshop or whatever. If you're good with software like that, you probably want to spend a bit of your time planning in the starting phase to figure your portal routes out. And that's uh, still going to change when you get in 3D. No matter what you do, once you get into 3D, it changes because you can't account for verticality, right? If you have a staircase right next to your portal, you just removed your line of sight to whatever that portal wall was that was
Yeah.
next to it, right? So this has to be done in 3D. You can plan, but chances are your plans are going to or should be fairly loose, or you should expect for them to change a little bit at least.
Okay.
So hope that answered the question. Sometimes you can add stuff afterwards, like we talked about some of the changes that we've been making afterwards, retrofitting, if you will. And even that is a challenge, right? Because now if you put a new portal, does it fit in with your network of portals? If the answer is no, what is that portal doing? Right? Sometimes like a pro portal or a triple portal is a portal that's like behind you or to the sides of you, and you kind of like bounce from it behind you to the next one. But when you're doing more new player focused portaling, typically you'd want a portal wall that's facing the player, and then the next one that they go to is also facing the player,
Yeah.
right? So these portal walls aren't looking at each other, and those are where
Yeah.
things can be either planned a little bit more or end up kind of challenging as well, right?
Mm-hmm.
So either way, like whatever you're doing, you have to think about who it's meant for, what it's supporting, what kind of gameplay are you trying to drive, right? What kind of flow are you trying to drive or not drive?
One thing I want to ask about when we're on the philosophy of placing portals, one thing you see a lot in the dev maps with how they place portals is the ease of being able to triple portal or portal chain from portal to portal. When you're doing it right and the portals are placed right, the player themselves, they really don't have to do a lot of turning to hit the next portal that they need to hit. Is there a special thing you keep in mind when you're placing the portals to be able to do that?
Yeah, absolutely. One of the tips that I always talk to with new level designers that join us has been uh, like even this helped me when I started to play this game for the first time. It was, where am I going to be looking when I exit that portal? And
Mm-hmm.
if you can frame that into your thinking, not only will you learn how to use portals faster from a gameplay perspective, but you'll learn how to design them better, right?
Yep.
And so one way to do this is like the simplest method is like the portals can see each other. Like let's say the player is standing next to a portal here, and there's another portal that's like facing this one but further away. Those two portals, when you walk through at this angle, you will exit this one at the angle that you want to go, right? So it's a lot of it is about planning that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and you can't always achieve that, which
No.
is the unfortunate truth.
It's
Sometimes,
always the angled portal walls for me that mess me up with that going from like the two side to
yeah,
side portals and then go into an angle and then it just throws everything off sometimes.
Yeah.
yep, which is one of the reasons why like we try to double down on simpler geometry for the most part. We have 90-degree angles and 45-degree angles practically everywhere.
Yep.
And this is to limit how much you're coming out and kind of like searching for your next location. And it's not even for the next portal. It's also for where the combat is going to be, right?
Mm-hmm.
So there's both of these things that need to be sort of thought about when you're building this stuff. And it's quite, let me tell you, it's quite a challenge. So getting it right, like I think one of the things, the first game, we can kind of get away with putting portals everywhere. And that meant that you had options to do everything. And it's kind of simplified this process quite a bit, right? The more portals that are everywhere, the less you have to think about where they are and kind of tune them to that experience. And that was something obviously where if we're going to be more intentional, if we're going to dial them back, this also means that they need to be better, right? And this weight is on us as level designers. So yeah, it's quite the challenge, and we're still improving, like I said.
Yeah.
Heck yeah. Heck yeah.
So something I want to discuss with you, Garrett, was could you? I know we have 20 maps officially in game right now. Are you able to confirm like which ones of those that you officially have your hands on?
Sure, yeah. So I worked on almost every map in the game in some capacity.
Oh wow.
Most of the 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 BR maps, the Onslaught maps, most of those were actually done by Mingfei, who's an extraordinary, talented, super experienced level designer on the team. He spends almost all of his time working on that and kind of in the shadows. You don't see or hear from him too much, but he's there chipping away. And Guy is amazing. Of course, that's also supported by Sam, our lead.
Yep.
Those two guys are pretty much running most of that. The obviously Blaze has worked on a bunch of those maps as well. From a design ownership perspective, though, I worked on Inferno. So I did all of the like original macro for the map, the planning and stuff like that, and built it out. That map actually got cut down quite significantly in order to make launch. So it's not nearly as crazy as I wanted it to be originally, but it
Gotcha.
ended up coming out real like I think it came out really good still. Most of the rework there was done by Sam. I was already tied up and busy doing a ton of work in Arena. So Sam Malone is the guy that pushed that one to the finish line and did an excellent job.
Yeah,
It
I really like the warehouse section of Inferno. Like I like the whole entire area for warehouse. It's pretty fun to play on.
yeah, I mean the map almost had an underground section. I wanted to do
Oh
a
man, that
deep
would been interesting.
underground cave. We had some crazy ideas that never made it. It was quite overscoped, and we just didn't have enough time.
Yeah.
Um,
Would
so maybe in
we?
the future we can get something like that.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, could we possibly see an Inferno rework in the future?
Inferno 2. Number 2.
Inferno point two.
Exclusive to the BR.
I
Yeah.
I can't say anything about the future for that,
Um,
unfortunately.
Speaking of using it for the BR, was the primary focus of the Onslaught maps to be used for the BR, or were they primarily designed for Arena?
So initially they were designed for the BR, and
I figured that was the case.
I wonder how much I can say. I think I should be fine. This isn't crazy leaks, but yeah, they were initially designed for the BR, and I think if you play them, it
Yeah.
makes sense that they
Yeah.
were designed more for the BR. The Onslaught modes were kind of us trying to find a great way to where we can just like the maps don't have to only be locked behind the battle royale bars.
Yep.
Arena players can enjoy these too. Let's do big team stuff, and that was the drive. So while the maps aren't designed specifically for Onslaught, like they still function really well. They still kind of serve that in between purpose. They're just not as cleanly tuned as an arena, and not as specific to a BR, right?
I feel like they would feel better if they gave us vehicles to actually use on them. I feel like it would make the big team battle on them feel just that much better. Cause like there's so
Yeah.
much distance.
Really?
Yeah, because portaling around by yourself, yes, you can get from one end of the map to the other in no time. But now you don't have a team. Because your team's not portaling right behind you. They're
Why
too
not?
casual. Because they're too
Yuri, what's
casual.
wrong with your team?
No, I'm not playing an 8 stack. That's the problem. And most of the people who do play Onslaught, they tend to be more casual. You're having
Yeah.
all the competitive players they normally focus on the BR and the takedown. That's what I've tend to see. At
Yeah.
least.
Well, the onslaught modes are meant to be like just like any other big team battle. They're not the pressure's not on you, right? You have a
Mhm.
huge number of teammates, and this is typically like no matter what you do with the settings, this is very common. If you're going to go from a 1v1 to an 8v8, like the pressure just dropped off of you by an order of magnitude almost, right? So like anytime you throw a bunch of players in a playlist together on the same team, you're just going to have less weight on your shoulders to carry the game.
Yep.
That also means you have less impact on the outcome.
Yep.
But you should be there for different reasons, right? Letting off steam. Maybe you want to practice your sniper or something. I don't know.
Mhm.
It's meant to be a lot more casual and chaotic than pretty much every other mode, right?
Yep.
Yeah, I like the fact that like all the way back when we did our first podcast, which was like during the first I think it was it was
Open
it,
alpha?
yeah, it was the open
Uh,
alpha during February, I think. Right?
I'm pretty sure you and Coma did one right after the first alpha, but then the three of us did one right after the open
Yeah,
alpha
gotcha.
in
So yeah, so
February.
our first official podcast for the community, right, was it was during that alpha with Glacier and everything. And
Yeah.
I like the fact that we all like put our heads together and we were like brainstorming like what was actually the hidden meetings that like they're actually holding
I'm the
back on the onslaught maps, because like I was saying from the get go, like these buildings, there's more to them than there are, especially since the very first trailer you guys had. The first trailer you guys had, the portals, the giant portal gates, did had, you know, look like a location. It was going to some sort of location. You had that off
It
during
was
the
there in the
alpha.
first trailer.
Yep,
all I'm gonna
Yeah.
you had it
say
off during
is
the alpha, but
if you
it
check
definitely led
that
to something.
footage, I said word for word, this could be a BR. It probably
Yeah,
won't be a whole separate mode,
I
and
thought it was just gonna
the
be
big
vehicles or
portals were going to
something,
be
but
used.
yeah,
I said that almost word for word. I knew nothing. Okay, that was just a hunch.
yeah. Yeah, I thought there was just gonna
I
be vehicle spawners or something, like where vehicles was gonna be
We,
stored at.
I think vehicles
we
still
thought it
might be a
was
thing.
like so obvious.
It
Obviously
kind
for
of was.
us it's obvious, but yeah, we thought it was obvious that it was clearly taking you somewhere.
I
Yeah.
had people still telling me that because I did a stream like just a day or so before you guys announced the BR, saying like Splitgate's getting a BR question mark. I had
Mhm,
someone pop
Mhm.
in my chat saying that my title was clickbait.
mhm.
Like, come on.
Yeah.
Um,
It was also
I
really
mean, I
fun.
remember. Go ahead, Phoenix.
It was also really fun, like right before I think the beta launch or like the BR launch, right? Was when you guys did your first tease where like, oh yes, this portal is connected to somewhere, right? Um, I like Coma and I we
One on fracture.
yeah, Coma and I we put our heads together and we were actually trying to make sense for like where all these portal gates could lead to, and we quickly discover like, you know, they're basically color coded to the biome, right? You got yellow for drought, red for inferno, blue for glacier, purple for fracture, and
Yep, and then
Ancient.
green.
and then the
The
Sanctum, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, we
We
quickly
didn't do
we
anything
quickly
to
put that
hide it.
together. Yeah.
Like
I was
there
gonna
was
say no.
no
There
Well,
was no hiding it.
there was
we
no hiding.
You guys
We
even
left
had the
it all
drops
there.
in
Yeah.
the onslaught mode where it's like this is obviously a BR like drop that you could just go and get. It was I don't know.
we understood that it was all connected. We just didn't know
Yeah.
how it all came together. If
That
that
too.
made sense.
Yeah.
It's all
That
connected,
too.
literally.
Yeah, it
It's
all
literally
literally
all
came together.
connected.
Because I remember when we were playing it, we were like all thinking it's like these maps are just way too big, and you know, despite the 8v8 idea, which I'm curious about that, you know, the maps were just way too big for you know, it felt like I was playing Battlefield sometimes, where you have to do your little trek, your little hike to go somewhere. You know.
Mm-hmm.
It was definitely more like clear to the player that they led to somewhere in the later Onslaught maps. But for like Glacier, like it definitely felt like you guys were hiding a little bit on that map, especially for like all the billboards. This was all just Glacier, right? But like on the later Onslaught maps, you go to like let's say near a Sanctum portal gate, right? And you have the Sanctum billboard near it, right? Like things like that. But yeah, it was interesting to see that for sure.
One thing that did throw me off was I think the very first time we saw Glacier, and I think was it the Game Awards trailer? I think it was. I don't remember which
Yeah, I
trailer
believe
it
so.
was,
Yeah.
but the portal is actually open on
Yep.
Glacier. I
Yeah.
think that leads to Drought, but there's a zone that is actually active in that trailer. So I thought we were just getting a bigger big team battle mode, right? And so it was kind of like, is this connected? Surely
Is-
not, you know, something like that.
I wonder if there's still like some big team mode that we haven't got yet that you guys are still trying to work out. Is there possibly?
I'm sure they got.
Yeah.
I'm sure they still got a lot of hidden stuff
Yeah.
right now that they're.
Why are you always trying
to?
to squeeze me, Yurgi? You're always trying to squeeze me.
I'm not. That's all him down there.
That's just what I do.
So yeah,
Um,
you're the main designer of Inferno, right? Was there any other maps?
Original. So Blaze also worked on Inferno as
Yeah, I
well.
was
Yeah.
gonna say he
Um,
did too.
The entire POI that's like over the lava pit, that was worked on by Blaze. And then Sam worked on the rest.
Gotcha.
So yeah, we kind of jumped past this, but yeah, so Inferno was my one hurrah into the Onslaught Battle Royale maps. Most of my time has been in Arena though. So I kind of maintain like the arena space. I work on all of like the gameplay passes, map boundaries, all the technical side that needs to be cleaned up from a level design perspective, collision stuff, like that sort of thing. So I kind of maintain the bugs and things like that. And the other designs that are mine are Eden and Bypass. And there's a few more that are coming down the pipe that you guys haven't gotten your hands on yet. But they'll be coming soon enough, and I'll be happy to talk about them when they are.
Heck yeah. It's good
Alright.
to hear. So of Eden and Bypass, which one is your favorite map?
Eden is my favorite map in the game.
Okay.
Of course, I
Eden.
am biased, but there's something about that design that I just really enjoy.
I'm gonna have to agree with you. Of the maps we've gone so far, Eden is still my favorite map. It's probably gonna be a while before it gets top.
Yeah, I think in the last alpha, I think Bypass was my favorite, but I think Eden, that's like basically overthrown that now for me. Like I think Eden's my favorite, sure.
Just a lot of fun, honestly. It's also, like I've said before, it's not too complicated to learn. It's a pretty simple map still.
Yeah, that was
I'd
one of the
like-
goals with it, was be very straightforward and simple. And a lot of the things that you see, like we're doing all symmetrical maps outside of Onslaught. And so the challenge is, how do you make another symmetrical map different, right? How do you make it feel different? And that was one of those where it has the Charlie symmetry, right? This was built before Charlie was in 2.
I have a
So
question
just
on
trying to
that.
find that.
Are you guys ever going to make an asymmetrical map in Arena? Is that at any point in the future, is that a plan?
I can't promise anything, but it's definitely things that we're talking about.
Okay. Because I personally would love to see an asymm Arena map at some point. I know it probably won't be the most competitive at first because it is hard to balance that with portals, but I feel like when it's done right, asymm maps can always just be a lot of fun, honestly.
I think map creator is where we should start experimenting, right? Like I want to see the community jump in and show us like, what do
I
you guys want? What are you guys making that really gets people interested and excited in
I
that, and not just in asyms, but in everything,
yeah.
right? Like what moves the needle?
I have an asymm map design that I had started in Splitgate 1 but never published that I might bring to Splitgate 2. I think it'll do really good with portals, but it's gonna take a long while.
There's a question in the chat I want to get to. So by Maddie
Sure.
Joe, 0225, they were wondering, why didn't we get Sanctum as a Onslaught map?
I believe. Can I say this? I believe we will. I think it's just a matter of getting things set up properly, but I'm pretty sure we will.
Okay.
Sanctum?
Like the
I
middle
mean,
map.
it's in the
Onslaught.
game, but it's not officially in matchmaking though.
Yeah, you
as far
can't
as
you
that
can't
works.
play it for Onslaught.
Oh, weird. Okay.
I mean, you could probably play it on Onslaught and Customs, but I don't think it's officially in Onslaught playlist. So
Oh yeah, I noticed it was missing, especially during the graffiti mode. So
yeah. Okay. Um.
what's next on the list, Phoenix?
Core has a question apparently. Would it be possible to see arena maps in the simulation design, not only for takedown?
Oh, so like using the sim assets but for a full arena map?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, internally, probably not.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Like the point of the takedown maps for us was things where the level design team has basically full control over how the map is built, right? Like when we have to make an arena map or an onslaught map or whatever, the art pass is significant. That work takes quite the Herculean effort, right?
Mhm.
And in that process, things can change. So the point of the takedown stuff was actually for level designers to be able to jump in, make like a pure gameplay driven map. And we still have art passes. We still have a fantastic artist, or a couple artists that have helped us along the way, but one of them kind of leads the pack that's helped make these things look really beautiful. And so that's kind of like the goals are a little bit different, right? That's the reason why you don't see us using the takedown in arena specifically. Now that doesn't mean that you can't make an arena map with simulation assets, right? Especially if you're doing it in Map Creator. Like we're not going to draw like hard lines as far as I know. If the map is great and it works for arena modes, there's not a reason why we wouldn't try it in arena or no
On
arena playlist.
on something you just said, when can we expect the first community playlist to be coming out? Is that something you know about?
Soon.tm.
Soon.tm.
Yeah, soon.
I'm hoping soon.
That's cool.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah, we're working on it.
Awesome.
Obviously, there's been a lot of challenges with like servers and challenges and stuff like that. Like that's kind of tied up our backend.
Yeah, I bet.
And when they're slowed down, it slows down quite a bit of other things that we're trying to get out.
Yeah.
So we're playing catch up at the moment. And as
Yeah.
soon as we catch up to certain things, then we can get more resources where they were supposed to be. Obviously, this sucks for everyone, so we're trying.
Yeah, on that, I know the map creator and customs tend to be one of the last things that get the updates just because how our community tends to work. We don't need updates as often. How soon can we expect to see like any big updates coming to the lab or customs?
So, I mean, it depends on what you define as big updates. One thing that I would say is temper expectations to like not expect us to just like reinvent map creator every couple months, right? Like that's just
Yep.
not going to happen. The map creator team is fairly small. However, that means that we can stay consistent. And that's been my goal, is to stay consistent. I want to make sure that we're constantly giving you guys new stuff to play with. Not necessarily, oh, here's this big drop and then go silent for months, right? Typically, if
Yeah.
we go silent for a long time, we don't get happy players. So we're trying to give you guys in the pace that we can create them from the map creator team. We're not specifically holding back anything because we
Yep.
want to get it out to you as soon as we can. That being said, we also can't really push content in hot fixes. It has to be in an official planned patch. And this
Okay.
is because of how engine builds work, right? The content
No,
has to
yeah.
be there.
So basically, every time you guys have like a, let's say, like a new chapter of the season, that's when we can
New
New
expect.
chapters will
That's when
be
we can
bigger.
expect the
Yeah.
changes for
Okay.
map creator. Okay.
Yep,
Yeah.
hot fixes will be literally fixes. It'll be bug
Yeah.
fixes. If content is already there, chances are it won't be new releases though. We just can't properly support that through
That makes
the
sense.
All right. I want to focus Splitgate Architects first because this is a Splitgate Architects podcast. So I want to focus
Yeah.
on questions
Get
asked
those
there.
done first.
So do we just want to just go server by
Yeah.
server
Yeah, so
and
I
not
think
just
the best way to
not
do
just
it
back and
is
forth?
yeah, start with the architects. We'll do the map builders, and then if we got time, we'll hit the main.
All right. So Mini Spee from Splitgate Architects said, what upcoming features can we be excited for? Will there be transparent blocks, ability to easily flip a selected group, or like an option to rename groups in the outliner?
Uh,
yeah,
can
I
I
wonder
just
how much
point,
I can say.
can I
I mean,
point
if
out
you can't
the
say
one thing
much,
I'm
then
curious about though?
what's that?
Minnie had pointed out, will we be able to more easily flip objects? Like a good example of that is the software I use for what I do at work. We have a thing where when we have a group of whatever lines I have selected, it then has an option to where I can rotate that group by like 45 degrees, 90 degrees, 180 degrees. I can flip it on the X. It just makes it easier to manipulate the group of objects you're trying to move without having to manually move every little bit.
Yeah. So I can confirm mirroring is coming.
There we go.
You will have an option to mirror.
That's gonna be
It's
huge.
obviously been on the wish list. You can mirror right now, but the way you do it is just negatively scaling stuff and kind of need a little bit of setup. But
Yeah,
the
it can be
way
a bit
we,
finicky sometimes.
yeah, it should be noted that it's not going to be like the systems that we build are usually based on something that Unreal has already sort of provided for us, right? This gives
Mhm.
us a really good basis for UX. It gives us a basis for functionality. It also makes you comfortable with the tool that you didn't know you're going to be comfortable with. But
Mhm.
when you're ready to take it to the next level, you'll be able to jump into Unreal and pick things up and go right away. So that to us is actually really important. Your tools feeling like developer tools.
Yep.
So that's one thing. That also means like it's not going to be like something where you just like it magically knows all the things you're trying to do. It's going to be powerful enough for you to control and do your mirroring. But you still need to learn like how the tool works and stuff like that a little
Yep.
bit. But it'll be quite simple. Um, I'm looking at an approved list from my esteemed colleague on the programming side.
I love
Um,
that.
so that was on the list. What were the other questions of confirming? I just
Oh,
want to
it was just like
double check.
what upcoming features can we be excited for? If you can
Sure,
say
yeah.
any.
So we're working on quite a number of things. In chapter 2, you guys will see a new biome.
Yep.
Um,
Expected that, but that's awesome.
there's not a new canvas with it, but there will be a new biome. And there's
Awesome.
quite a bit of stuff in there. I think this is our biggest content for a biome yet.
Wait,
We're still, yep.
on what you said not a new canvas, but a new biome. Does that
Correct.
mean we'll be able to change the biomes on the canvases we currently have?
No,
No. Oh.
no.
I think
So it's just a new biome set in the catalog.
Okay.
So
Yeah,
you'll be
like
able to
the
Okay.
play with the
New
new biome set.
terrain, new
so like
rocks.
how we
essentially.
have fracture rocks, right?
Yes.
We might have
Correct.
something else. Okay.
So we have a new building set too. That's coming.
Okay.
Ooh, okay.
A much simpler one, but I think it'll provide some different stuff from what you guys currently have. So the usability will be quite different, and you'll be able to try new stuff. And then most of the other like content side stuff right now has been trying to clean things up, fix bugs and things like that.
Yep.
So there should be a number of bugs that are getting or have been fixed up to this point. And we are confirmed working on a couple bigger things that you guys will be excited about. I don't have ETAs on these currently, but we are working on some placeable lighting options. This will be fairly
Okay.
simple to start.
A lot of
Want
people's
to
been
a little
asking for
bit
that.
temper
Yeah.
expectations.
Yeah.
The main goal is we want the maps to look good,
Yeah.
right? And we want you guys to be able to light things, especially on the interior.
Mhm.
However, this is expensive, right? So there will be limitations, and we haven't quite figured out everything just yet. So still in the process. We're also
Oh.
working on some. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
I was gonna ask about the biomes and building sets you're adding. I'm not sure if you have plans for this already or not, but one of the new map builders I'm going to be working with, we both would like to have like a rock or rune type of like build structure to use, because in Splitgate there's a lot of maps that have that rune look to it, or like just old stone structure, and it'd be really nice to be able to add that aesthetic to certain maps. And I don't know,
You
I'm
might
not
be
sure if
happy then.
okay,
We'll see.
I was gonna say, if you guys already have that plan to add, that would be amazing.
Yeah, like I said, it'll be simple.
Yep.
And I think this is going to be a set that we will grow more over time, but it's going to start as a simple set for now. And see like this is something newer that we're trying, so we'll see if it lands. If it
Okay.
does, we'll expound on it.
Awesome.
Um,
Awesome. It's great to hear.
the VFX options are also being worked on. This is going to take a little bit to sort of figure out. I think it's again going to start fairly simple. But we want to give you guys some things where you can liven up the space, right? Moving objects always brings some sort of life into your map. So that's where we're going to start. We're going to try a couple things first and see how that goes. And then again, if this is successful, we'll start expanding potentially the options with what you can do with it and more content
I was
as
gonna
well. But we're
say,
starting simple.
I remembered in the reveal trailer of the lab, there were some tree roots that were like wiggling. It was like a
Those
small
are still
little.
there.
Those are still there.
Yurgi,
Okay.
those are in
I,
the fracture
Yeah,
set.
I think so.
I'm
Yeah.
not an artist. I do
You don't need.
blockouts. I do blockouts. Okay. I don't play with the
Um,
biomes.
in the VFX section, does that mean the light stuff from the fracture biome is going to be pulled over to the VFX? Because it's not
No.
really biome, you know. So I was curious.
Yeah, so
What
the
that
the
means.
way we consider we consider a biome to be currently it's strictly something that's tied to the biomes that you guys have in the battle royale, right?
Okay.
The onslaught
Yeah.
biomes. So we want that like when we say, hey, here's all these things from this biome, we want you to think of that biome and know already what's in it. Like it
Okay.
like lets you connect these things one to one.
Yeah.
And the other side of that is we may rearrange and reorder some of this stuff as more stuff comes online, right? Like this happens with catalogs, and we have the ability to do that. But for the most part, we want to try to keep things where they are as much as we can, so that way you guys aren't like, where the hell did that thing go? You know, like getting lost. Also, we've put a lot of effort into naming things to where you can find it. So if anything is in the fracture set, you can search fracture in the asset list and find it.
Nice.
So this is important for us. So we're trying to make some of this not only easy to find, but hard to miss, right? Hard to lose. And that's not always perfect. Things in VFX, there's like a constant debate every time we add something new. Where does it go? And we try to keep things together.
Yeah.
In like my mentality is when you're building a map, you're probably doing a block out first, or maybe let's say you skip block out process and you just start putting art assets. You're in a building phase, and that's why all the building stuff is together, right? And
Mhm.
then when you're like, hey, this is actually going to be more outdoors. It needs biome content. You're going to just live in biome content for a while. And I kind of don't want you jumping constantly back and forth between every single menu to find your stuff. You're kind of meant to live in a space for a little while. So when it's time to do decals, the decals are all together, right? You're not like searching through, okay, what's an SSL decal? What's a, a, a fracture decal? Like those are just kind of contained together. And this is not always perfect, but we're trying to make it as clear and user friendly as possible.
That's great to hear. No, I love it.
So, there's a few questions I was asked in chat. One should be pretty quick, but this one's by Core. He said, could we possibly get like an option to color the simulation outlines, like the simulation? I think they were called. What was it, like
Oh, the
simulation
edge.
lights?
Edges.
Yeah,
The edge outline?
simulation edge. Yeah, because you can't
Yeah.
currently color them or anything.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see why we couldn't do that. We had these colored at one point. I know some of you eagle eyes have seen that. The reason why we stopped doing that was because the colors would clash. So you might have a blue map and then you have
Blue
green outlines
lines.
on it or blue lines, and it's
Yeah.
just it starts clashing really hard. Artists, yeah, like maybe as designers we feel like, oh, it's okay, like even from a gameplay perspective, at least I know I'm on the blue side now, like, but from an art perspective, it's really challenging to make it look right from a dev perspective. But that doesn't mean we can't give you guys the control to do it how you like on yours. So
Yay, more
I
freedom.
think that one is a little bit of a complex shader though. So I need to see if I can still connect a color parameter to expose.
Gotcha.
So no promises, but let me look into it.
One question I do have about coloring takedown maps. So I'm not sure if you saw my infinity loop finished, but I had used two different colors to accent the whole entire map. I'm wondering, have you guys thought about doing that with your dev maps to where it's not just one color throughout the entire takedown map?
That is a art crime, and you will
Art
be.
crime.
The police are on their way. Uh, no, so part of it, I mean, it is true. It is kind of an art crime because things clash very easily.
Yeah.
But again, for map query, you guys can do whatever you want. For us
Yeah.
internally, we have to make sure the art team is okay with shipping it out, right? So there's some things that we have to prevent. That doesn't mean that what we've done is perfect.
Yeah.
When we, I think I mentioned this to somebody already, but uh, the takedown maps came in very hot. Like
Yeah.
this was not something that we planned on the schedule. This was something that the level design team saw an opportunity for. We were like super excited about
Yeah.
the VR aesthetic material that we got in the Fatui in the tutorial.
Mhm.
And we're like, let's make maps with, what if we did takedown with that? And it was on us to kind of sort of drive that. And there's a little bit of challenge here. Long story short, getting back to the art, which is how do you make it to where it doesn't look like, again, like rainbow sherbet, right? Like how do you make it look good in that process too? And some things that could be done, and maybe we'll explore this internally more, but we could use more flags and banners to actually drive color to sides. I think part of our current reasoning is that it's not really super important what side of the map you're on because there's no objectives in takedown. The moment those objectives come in, that's when things start becoming more of a question. But currently in regular takedown, the map side doesn't necessarily matter. But maybe that's even debatable.
The only call out you need is on me.
I
Like-
mean,
Yep.
I remember saying in one of the surveys after the open alpha how they could easily do just a low textured takedown maps, and level designers can easily pump those out within just a couple days, honestly, because there's simple designs. If you have a simple enough asset, it doesn't take long to actually build them. So I'm happy you guys decided to do that. I'm pretty sure most of the community is too.
Yeah, it filled a missing spot on our roster. So it was, for us, it was a great opportunity to jump in and make sure we delivered takedown on these core experiences. Obviously that gives us a chance to do remakes too, and Charlie has been very popular.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like remakes are something that the community loves to do as well. So there's definitely a challenge. Do we let you guys do it and just throw it in matchmaking? Do we do it ourselves? Like this is a constant struggle, at least with takedown in particular, and remakes in particular. Like what can we do that's going to move the needle far, where you guys can also have room to do what you're going to do, right? Remakes super popular in the community.
Is that why you guys have been so silent on Abyss? You guys are wanting us to do it?
You're squeezing me again.
Of course I got you on this one.
I have
got
no comment on Abyss.
you
Great map.
you got
I love
all the Gogurt out of his role, all right? Like
I got all the Gogurt out.
There's no more Gogurt, all right? You you use up your lifeline.
Yeah.
Yeah. 'Cause
No, I don't. Have we been quiet on Abyss? Really?
Very
Like,
quiet on
have you guys
Abyss.
asked and like we're like
I don't think you guys mentioned anything
hearing,
about
like-
this, so
We
Well-
as a community have been banging down your
I hadn't noticed
door
Yeah.
about Abyss.
really?
Abyss,
Okay.
Yeah.
I know people have been
The only
requesting it,
remake.
but people request everything.
The only remake that we've at least heard like some sort of teaser, but it's not the case of like it's official or anything, was during the season survey. There was a mention of a possible Abyss remake with like an underwater theme season. But that
Really?
was, you know,
not
that was a
not
concept.
Abyss, that was
you know.
Atlantis.
Nobody
Or, yeah,
sent me
sorry,
that.
Atlantis.
Yeah, Atlantis.
Was that Atlantis?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was
Mm.
Atlantis. Yeah,
I wouldn't want to see
Hey,
Atlantis personally.
maps with
but...
A's. There's quite a few of them, but yeah, that was like the only like considered possible remake, I guess. Again, it was a concept of a season, so it wasn't like fully official.
Yeah, I know they have asked what remakes we would like to see, but then they never really have teased anything about any map ever since they released Stadium. Like they released Stadium and there's been no news on any remakes coming from you guys. So as far as
Yeah.
we know, I'm not sure if we're gonna see another remake,
I think-
but hey.
So the best thing I would say is Stadium is the remake that we decided to go with for launch.
Yep.
The reaction to that will drive what we do next, right? So if people love it and it's like, hey, we want more remakes. Like I think Ian has come out and said several times at this point, like we're trying to be driven on what we do next by the community.
Yep.
Because the game is for you guys and the lights aren't on without you. So if you guys want a certain remake or whatever, like let your voice be heard.
Heck yeah. Heck
There
yeah.
was a question asked a while ago by Matty Joe. They said, Garrett, I'm curious for the lab, will it ever reach a potential where we can make our own game modes? Like there's this mode for an X Deviant called Escort that I'd love to recreate, but I have to bring in objects that aren't in the game to do that. And
Yeah, so that's a different challenge altogether. So that sounds more like modding. right? Like you're
Yeah.
bringing in things that don't exist in the game. I don't know if we've talked about this at all, but like for map creator, or sorry, the lab in particular, there's like this isn't possible, right? We can't
Yeah.
import something into the lab through like normal processes. If we want to do something like this, it would have to be through a mod kit, and I don't think we've talked about any plans
I
No,
externally for
I've
something like
I
that.
do
talked to
want
them about that. There's no plans for mod support.
to follow this up because they did mention about custom game modes. Like, can we potentially in the near future could see us having the option again for be able to save our custom game mode settings?
Yeah, I mean that's a highly requested feature, right? Like
Mhm.
to me, that's kind of a requirement, right? We
Mhm.
should absolutely have it. I just don't have any control or say over
Mm.
when we get that. I
Okay.
think I know it for a fact is on our radar. I just don't know exactly when I can say to expect it by, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, we also know and understand it is important. So
All right.
And I know this isn't on the lab as much. It's more for the custom sides, but are you guys, is it on the radar at least that we can get more customization options for game modes? Because currently it feels a little limiting on what we can customize within the modes.
again, that's not on me to say for
Yeah.
sure. I haven't spent too much time digging through that. I have so much other things
Yeah.
on my personal plate. Uh, but I would say I'm sure the team that is working on that is quite aware of like what they can do, what they cannot, what's exposed, what's not.
Okay.
Some things, if it's not available, it's not going to be exposed, of course, right?
Yep.
So I would say find what you guys think are the most important features that are missing, the most important options that are missing. Get a
Okay.
list together and beat us over the head with it, right? Like
Yeah.
get cyber involved, right? Like cyber should be the first person you guys reach out to get stuff to us,
Okay.
because he's got his ear to the ground all the time, right? So
Okay.
That's
Yeah.
good to hear. We'll start annoying Cyber a lot more then.
Yeah.
please, he deserves it.
Let's get back to the questions I was asked in the SGA Discord because we only covered one of them so far.
Yeah,
Um,
we're
so
talking a lot.
so this
Yeah, we
one.
can try to zip through them so we can get a bunch too if you want.
Okay,
Yeah,
yeah,
rapid fire.
we'll rapid fire then. All right, so this one's by Koran. Will we see more variations of current known Splitgate 2 maps, similar to what we have seen recently with Ozone?
As in
So,
like
like,
reskins?
Yeah,
yes.
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 awesome.
I
All right.
like the reskins. Are a follow up to that, are we gonna be able to play them in customs too?
I believe so. You
We
should be able to.
Yeah, we can already can with the Ozone tagging one.
That's all.
Yeah,
That's
I
all I need to
believe you
know.
should be able to, yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome.
This one's by Ocom. What's the top 2
Cool.
traits / skills a AAA level designer should have?
Oh, you'll have to ask a AAA level designer.
Yeah, I don't think
No. I think so. I mean, this is a challenge because there's so many things that are important, and it's kind of what's important to you. It's what's important to the hiring team at your studio, right? Like you have to fulfill the need of your studio, and so that may change, right, from studio to studio. I would say the most important thing you could probably do when you're there is like communicate, right? Make sure you know exactly the task at hand. Um, I mean, if it's just for you, then it's important to like keep your job, do the task that's at hand. But of course, like if the question is more like how do you how are you making sure that you're producing really good work? I would say seek feedback, right? Get people to look at your work and give you ideas. What is wrong with this? what could be improved, right? Try to take constructive criticism as much as you possibly can.
Mhm.
But I think this is a skill that most map makers already have, because most map makers are typically part of communities in some way, right?
Yeah.
Um, Halo Forge in Halo 3 was just as brutal as every other Halo. That community will tell you your mom is ugly right to your face. And so, like building thick skin is very important,
Yeah.
right? And understanding how to not just take feedback, but how to parse feedback.
Mhm.
You have to remember, like, as developers, you're getting feedback from everyone, and everyone has a different opinion. How do you
Yep.
parse it? How do you know what's the right way? Um, it's not even like most people are saying this, therefore it must be correct. You have to weigh it in with your intentions, right? As a designer, you're only really trying to drive intentions, right? And sometimes those intentions don't work, and you need to change your uh, like your methods or change to find different success in your results. Um, but at the end of the day, you need to figure out what feedback is going to get you there. And if it's your boss, then you just do what your boss says, right? Because I mean, you should always be saying, "Hey, I think for the design, this would be better," right? You should speak up on those things, but you do have to still, especially in a AAA environment, usually you need to do and execute on the task that you're given. So yeah, I'd say those two things: feedback, taking it, parsing it, really important. Um, and maybe there's several other things that other people can say, but those are where my head goes first.
You have to talk to a
Okay.
AAA level designer to understand. Yeah. All right, what's next on the list, Phoenix?
When it comes to like, I mean, you probably don't have an answer for this, but I think like this is very needed right now. This is an answer by Red Angel. Red Angel says, "Can we get a team amount slider or something to support more than 2 teams in the custom game lobby?" So basically, it's only set to your guys' like specific game modes we can select right now for the team amount. Is there a way we can maybe get that as like a team slider instead, where we could just customize how many teams we want in any game mode?
Yeah, another great request. I have no control over that.
Yeah.
That also would be along the same question as the rest of the game mode stuff.
Okay.
Yep.
This next one's
But I agree.
by
I think it's smart.
yeah. This next one's by Shredder McGently. He says she got a few questions, but one of them's already been basically answered. That was about the will there be any plans for a lighting system of any capacity, and you said that that is
Yes.
currently planned. It's just very expensive
Basic.
and basic.
Placeable, yeah.
Yeah.
Placeable lights.
Yeah.
We are working on it in some way.
So the other two was, could we possibly get a nav mesh system to help with bot pathing?
Bots
Mm.
are awful right now in custom games. Yeah, we have talked about this. There's a little bit of a challenge here, partially because whatever we do, whatever like we expose, becomes now the responsibility of the player. Right now, we do this procedurally, essentially. So anywhere that's inside the playable area of each canvas, when you save the map, it saves a procedural sort of bot navigation. And that's not really been able to uh, serve in the same way as actually authored navigation would. The challenge here is it's not like we'd have to give you our tools, and our tools aren't very player friendly.
Yep.
There's also a baking process for baking the nav mesh that the bots path to. And so all this is a little bit of a challenge. And we could potentially expose some things, but it makes the task of the designer much harder, right? Or more involved. So we're weighing the options on what we
I
can
have
do.
one question on that then. Have you guys thought about it, just an option where you have a more basic settings and format that you can use, but then if you want to have the more advanced tools that do more, you can then click a menu option and then the advanced stuff will pop up or like activate?
I mean, you could potentially go that route, but it would still have the same issue, right? It would still have the same limitations.
Yeah. Okay.
So hiding it to an advanced setting button, I don't know if that really fixes the issue, right?
The last question Shredder asked was is there like a will we be expecting like a new palette option, possibly assets from current dev maps, so maybe like something we see on official maps? We maybe like place certain objects down from them in the map creator.
Yeah, I think our current plan is to try to get through all of the biomes first. We think that most of the mileage and content that we've created is in those big biomes, and we want to get through that. At least in my opinion, I think we should get through those first. And once we can kind of catch up to that point and we're producing new content, I think we can start to grab some other miscellaneous items from different maps. There's a ton of great stuff throughout the game. I saw people making tires out of like 2,000 pieces just to make a tire. Like,
Yeah.
let's just give you a tire, right? Like, um, so like some of these things we're definitely watching and we're aware of. But it's just a matter of priorities and timing and trying to find when it makes sense to bring what in, right? So
Yeah.
I want to kind of focus biomes and then we'll jump back and see what can we do from the rest of the content.
No, that's a good plan.
Um, um, sure, we'll ask this too. This is the last one from the Splitgate Architects community. So, Mystic Luca asks about changing the shape of portal walls. Is this just like diagonal portal walls slash frames that follow the same diagonal wall shape as the other, or like ramp portals that aren't simulations, like the framing, I assume, right? Or just funky shapes like
Yeah,
trapezoid or triangle portals. So maybe,
I have to say no.
yeah,
Portals are extremely complicated. Not only from like the programming perspective, but from the shader. Um, they can't be moved like anything else. Like you have to have like a certain amount of breathing room in the collision behind it in order to pass through. Like there's so many little things involved. Uh, it's it's not as easy as just make a shape and call it a portal, right? Um, if we did things like way simpler, like if this was a Roblox style game, then yeah, we'll give you everything. But yeah, it's not that kind of game, and it's a significant challenge to do really anything like that with our portal system.
What about like circular portals? I don't think we have any circular portals currently that we can use.
like cylinder portals.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Only
Huh.
if only they were coming in an update soon.
Okay. Okay. Cool. Cool.
I want my portal cubes back too, man. Give me my portal cubes.
I mean, if you saw, I think it was Stoma was able to like make his own portal cube.
I did.
it's not the,
Very
it's not the
very
same
creative.
though, man.
It's not the same.
Yeah, it's not. All right, so yeah, that was the Splitgate Architects community questions asked in the Discord. Why don't we leave it to Kilma to cover the ones that was asked in the Map Builder Discord.
Okay, the first of all, this first one kind of has like something that you pretty much already answered, and then there's another question that follows it, and it's, are you guys just working on bug fixes? Or are you looking to add more stuff to the lab? You've kind of already answered that, so we'll probably
Both,
just
yeah.
skip over that. And then the second is, will you add a roadmap for things you hope to add to have some sort of dates for us to look forward to?
I would love to give you guys a roadmap. I think the challenge right now is we're still figuring that out for ourselves. Um, it's not a secret. We've had layoffs. We haven't had the success that we wanted, so things have shifted. And so giving you a roadmap right now is quite the challenge, right? We're still figuring it out ourselves.
Yep.
I think if things solidify a little bit more, and we can kind of get our plan a bit further ahead, it will be easier to do that, but at the moment it is just not possible, right? Like I can kind of give you hints and leaks and stuff like that on things we're getting out the door now. But my plan is to try to be far enough ahead in the schedule to where we can talk about roadmaps and get you guys excited for what's coming. Because yeah, you don't want to. Everything shouldn't be a permanent surprise. Like there should be some things where you're like, okay, cool, this is coming. I know when I can build X, Y, Z because it'll be in this update. So we're working on it.
Nope, that's great to hear. It's great to hear.
Okay. That question was from Not a Tough Guy. I didn't mention that. But the next question comes from Sweden. And his question is just one word: magnets.
Magnets.
Magnets, yeah. Magnets. I keep hearing people talk about magnets. I know controller players will absolutely appreciate magnets. It is something that is probably not that big of a challenge. It's just not as it hasn't seemed as important on the schedule. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe people really, really want that over some of the other features that we're working on.
I'm not
Yeah.
sure what features you have coming up. I like playing with
Yeah.
really shitty angles, and
Okay.
magnets sometimes make that my life so much easier.
It
Okay.
helps a lot when you're making things on like diagonal angles for sure, I feel.
Yeah, like when you're
The
trying to do weird stuff, it helps.
the thing
Yeah.
is with magnets, of course, it's mainly a controller focused feature. So looking at it for like the
Okay.
keyboard and mouse section, it's like how are you gonna enable like how do you prioritize a magnet to go where you want it to? I think is the bigger question there.
I feel like it's
So
actually easier on MNK just because you have a little bit more control over the movements.
it's hard to say because Halo Infinite's the way it works is you have to look at what magnet you want to work. But
Okay.
when you're messing with the magnets on, of course MNK, you can't look what magnet you're wanting to prioritize. You're
Okay.
just going to be moving the object around, right? So it's kind of just tough and trying to figure out how you're going to make it work for MNK, I would expect.
I just
Yeah, I turn magnets off in Infinite. I can't use it. It's so like I'm trying to place the thing and it's like grabbing it out of my hand.
Yeah.
I get some. It's probably good for people that are either on controller specifically or used to magnets, or maybe they just don't have as much experience in more powerful editors or something like that. So
Yeah, for
it's
sure.
not something that I personally use or enjoy, and maybe that's biased me a little bit, right? So,
Yeah.
but it is something that we're talking about. It's just a matter of when when is it important for that to come in, right? Because
Yeah.
again, our resources are limited, so we have to do what's best in order, right?
Yeah. On to the next from Froggo UK saying, will we be seeing more texture slash materials for primitive blocks?
uh to expand on that, like will we be able to get more textures to change the blocks to instead of just like a color?
That is the goal.
Okay.
Um, we're talking about this internally. This is actually quite a big feature. So it's not something like we can't just give you a texture and like it slaps on and you're done, right? Like there's so
Yeah.
many other things that are involved with this, including like how does it UV? Um, how does the player have control of it? How can you make it look good?
Yeah.
So it's not a easy wham bam done. It
Nope.
is something
Fair.
we're looking at. I just can't make any promises on it at the.
Yeah.
I'm honestly, that makes me happy to hear that you guys are at least thinking
Yeah.
about it. Because I feel like that would just be like a huge leap forward in the map editor and just how the maps look in the end.
I agree.
Let's see. So this one comes from Froggo as well. It says, will we be able to recolor more objects eventually? Some objects are in the same theming as other objects, but can't be recolored.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So the the color parameter is not exposed on everything is more or less what this is coming down to. And
Yeah.
I believe we are already working on getting most other things connected. Not sure if it's going to make it specifically for the next chapter, but it will. If it doesn't, it will be soon after that we're catching up on some of those things.
Awesome.
I
So
like
this is just a matter of connecting it properly. This is all it is, and priorities.
since we're talking about colors on blocks and stuff, I like to add on to that is can we possibly see down the line in the future where like maybe some of the building structures, like I've noticed, for example, the SSL structures, right? They mostly come in white, and some like the walls, you can only really change the color on like one side. We see down the line, like maybe we can have like a secondary color option we can change for like the other parts of the building pieces.
Yeah, we've talked about doing primary and secondary color for basic stuff like that. No word on it right now. It's just not towards the top of the list.
Okay.
But it is on the list.
All right.
Good to know it's on the list. Yeah.
You got something else you want to add, Yergi, or do I
Nope.
just need to move on? Okay.
Continue.
So going on to the only way I could really describe this next one is the laundry list of questions from CXG Plays, which
they
if
had a
nobody
lot.
knows the name, this is the person who did the highly detailed Nuketown remake,
Yeah.
Okay.
which was crazy, you know.
Yeah,
I think
super
they even
good.
turned it into a prefab and pulled it over to another canvas.
Yep,
made
they
another
did.
nighttime
They did.
That was probably the craziest part for me. Not him making the detailed map to begin with. It was him making it a prefab and then putting it on another canvas.
The
We
That
talked
was the
about
5,000
this
impressive
being
part.
possible.
the 5,000 piece prefab is so insane.
I'm surprised it held together. I'm like, it's a miracle that worked.
Did he do it with the portals too? Because it would make more sense to me if he was able to do it with everything else but the portals. Because there's like a weird glitch where when you make a prefab with like a building block and a portal, and then you try to open it up on a different file or build, it doesn't keep the portal and the building block in the same spot. They like off shift just like a tiny bit.
I don't think I've ever ran into that issue. I've got
Really?
some. Yeah, I got some prefab save with that.
I'll have
with
to get a
portals.
clip next time I stream of it then.
I
Yeah.
was gonna say, I might have to go
Prefabs-
ask CXG. I don't know.
Yeah, prefabs also had they did have a bug previously where I can't remember exactly what it was, but it was like if you prefab something with a portal together, it would often like offset or move
Yes.
after you touched it again.
Okay.
And that was a placement bug that we had. That should be fixed. So if that was the issue, that should not be the issue anymore.
So
Okay.
I
Yeah.
still had that issue this past Tuesday. I'm not sure if it was more recent, like you did that update this week. But
No,
like
this should have been out for a little while now.
y-
If you're
yeah,
running
'cause-
into stuff, PSA,
Yeah.
anyone watching, if you're running into stuff, please record your recreation steps. Show me how you did
Yeah.
it, record a video and send it in. Like that's the
I'll-
best way for us to
I want to
track
add.
it.
I want to add
I'll
on
have
to
to do that for you.
Garrett's pretty communicative in the Discord communities, right? So like,
Yep.
whenever you're in like the Map Builder Discord or like Splitgate Architects, I don't know if there's anything for like the official Discord, but basically, if you guys have like any bugs, that you want to share to Garrett, like we have a dev feedback, Map Builder has a dev feedback. Just put the bug in there, and he'll
read it.
he'll eventually see it.
Yep.
So
So
If I don't see it, someone will see it.
yeah.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Moving on to the first question of this laundry list is, will there be any option to change the time of day, filter, brightness, or fog density of the maps we make in the future? I came from Fortnite Creative, and this would be an amazing update to the lab for map makers.
It is on our radar, on our list. It is a big challenge to get a lot of that stuff, not only functional, but player facing. It is something I would love to have, but it is there's other things that we're trying to focus on first.
Second question is, are customizable light point lights and spotlights planned for being in the lab? You kind of covered this one already, but you can go ahead.
Yeah, placeable lights. That's what we're currently working on. I don't have more to say about it at the moment. It is something that we are working on prioritizing.
Over. Will there be a shiny / reflection slider for most objects in the lab? Because a lot of lab objects currently are really
Yeah, the
reflective.
primitives are super shiny when you change the
Yeah.
color
Yeah.
on them.
So we're working on the base reflection on those already. I got to double check. Maybe we've already done it. But yeah, it is it is a little extreme at the moment.
Doesn't seem that reflected as it used to be,
But
but yeah.
it would be cool to be able to control that, because maybe there is a scenario where you want it super shiny, so you can turn the shiny factor up on it or whatever that is.
Mhm.
I don't know. Maybe
It's the
in
roughness value.
yeah,
If it has
the
a really low
roughness.
roughness, it'll be super shiny.
Okay.
We would love to. This
Yeah.
is something that is on my list. Part of the texture swap material stuff is has to do with this stuff. So it's a little bit more complicated when some objects have different parameters than others, right? So
Yep.
finding a way to universalize these settings is a bit of a challenge and may take more time. But it's something that we do want to do at some point, right? So just need to
Awesome.
find um, when we can get it in, basically.
That's fair enough.
Next question is will there be an increase in map budget over time?
Fair question.
I mean, there could be a decrease. No, the map the map budget is kind of there for almost safety reasons only. Like, in theory, there's probably ways where you can cheat your way around it. There's ways where we could make an update that causes you to spill over, for example. Like if I made something more expensive on the budget and you have a bunch of them in your map, all of a sudden you're 1,000 over. So the budget is mostly there to kind of give you an idea like, hey, once we start getting around here, performance starts to become questionable.
Yeah.
And even like it depends on what you're using, right? The more draw calls the object has, or the more materials that are complex, the more expensive it's going to be to render on
Yeah.
screen. And this isn't one to one. Like just because an object says one budget doesn't mean it costs the same as something else at one budget. So
Yeah.
there's no like perfect measurement that we could do here. Everything is kind of roughed in, and these numbers will likely change. But as far as maximum budget, the reason it's there is to basically protect lower end hardware, right?
Yeah.
In 10 years, what you're playing on right now, maybe that's still at 5, but maybe in 10 years you could have a budget that's triple or quadruple, right? It's kind of hard to say as those things change. So
Yeah, for sure.
we're gonna monitor it and see where it needs to go. Hopefully we don't like I don't want to lower it. That was a joke. Um, but as far as increasing it, it's not like we can increase it to, we can triple, quadruple it. That's like trivial. It's the real issue is what is the performance cost of increasing that number when you put that many more items on screen. And we know older generation hardware really will struggle. Last gen Xbox and PlayStation 4, right? Like that is where our biggest concerns are. But we don't want them to hold back the rest of the community, right? So what do
Yeah.
you do? It's a big question mark. Maybe in the future we can do some sort of advanced thing that says, hey, you can have more budget, but this will not run on other hardware and we can't put it in matchmaking. Right? Maybe that's the solution that we provide. Who knows, right?
Yeah.
So just tempering again expectations. The budget's in place because technology can only do so much.
Yep.
I
Yeah.
think in Splitgate 1, changing the budget cap from 1,200 to 2,000 was actually a little bit too much, because a lot of times when people make maps at like 2,000 budgets in Splitgate 1, or even
You
like
just crash.
1,900, like it just caused a lot of issues for like players. And like another
Yeah.
thing, like we noticed is like if your map has like way too many rocks in Splitgate 1, that was also causing like a lot of issues on the maps too. So it's I think it's
Yeah, I mean,
I think it's good to balance out different kind of levels for depending how expensive they are for Splitgate 2 for sure.
yeah, this is also probably possible here. Like you could probably cause your game to run at 2 FPS if you wanted to, right? Like if you do a bunch of silly things. And our philosophy has kind of been allow you to do as much as you want without ruining the experience for somebody else, without crashing the game. Like crashing is where we really draw the line. If you can do something that's like really tanking your performance or causing the game engine to just bug out, that's where we want to step in and say, hey, okay, so we got to put limitations. And the other side of that is that means players can hurt themselves a little bit, right? You can do in order to get a little bit more powerful, you have to also be able to understand that there's going to be some performance hits for that, right? We're trying to not put you in a box because you're creators, right? You're trying to make things. And so this means that there's a bit of a learning curve. Um, I think in Splitgate 2 in particular, it's quite different from back in the Halo 3 days. You had a budget, and when you started getting on that budget, it was, you know, really close to the end. But for us, like you probably have margin if you just have a powerful PC, right? So it really depends on the hardware, and we can't account for every situation.
Yeah,
So we have to be a little bit conservative.
I think what's important is like because you guys are adding support for even like lower gen consoles, is that it has to run, it has to be able to run on like Xbox and like PS4 basically. Otherwise, it's just
If we're
gonna be
gonna put it in
problematic.
matchmaking, yes.
Yeah.
If you guys want to make your own thing and no one on those consoles are going to play it, then it doesn't matter. Like people
Yeah.
have potato PCs and they're loading the game. We can't stop them, but they have to understand their performance is going to be impacted.
I haven't tested. I don't know if anyone else has. Once we hit the budget, we can't place anything else, or is the budget just there to let us know like we can only once you hit this point, you're gonna be hitting performance problems.
It is a hard cap,
Okay.
but it's not actually suggesting anything about performance exactly, right?
Okay.
I mean, a last gen console may be struggling or starting to lose performance after 500 objects, after 1,000 objects, after 2,000, right?
Mhm.
So it's more there to like give you an estimate of like, hey, keep things within a reasonable range so that we know that it works on most hardware.
Okay. Fair. That's fair.
On to the next question is, are we getting any wooden objects? For example, wooden floor piece, wooden plank prop, etc.
Mm, I don't know specifically about like wood objects. Like we haven't done like a wood update that's coming or something like that, but
Would
we're not
y'all would?
anti-wood. Um, No,
Knock on wood.
I think again that's more of like a material thing. Like when we build something, we are currently trying to think with the mindset, okay, do we need two assets or is this a material swap in the future? Right? So maybe it's just a material swap that fixes this
You
question.
you could always do what some people did in Splitgate 1. Make those trees go upside down and then stretch them out.
Oh gosh.
Yeah,
Yeah.
people have scaled up some of the crates that have wood floor. And that's
Yeah.
a great way to
Yeah.
do it as well.
Yeah.
Um, this is actually something I thought about. It was a conversation I had with another map builder. Are you guys gonna be adding just like normal windows in just for like aesthetic reasons? I know currently the only way you can get like a window is by scaling one of the crates up.
Mhm.
It's got SSL
Uh,
windows.
you can cheat. You're talking about glass, is what
Glass,
you're saying.
yes.
Yeah,
Oh, okay, yes.
Glass.
you can
Yeah.
cheat glass at the moment. It's not
Yeah.
great.
No.
Ideally, we give you something to do this, but again, glass is a material. Like
Mm,
you see where all things are leading, right? Like
yeah.
lots of these rely on this certain feature, so that's why we're trying to jump on it. I'd love to just give you a piece of glass that you can just put wherever for right now as a temporary solution. I don't know if we've done anything in particular for that just yet, but maybe I can escalate.
Just give us the Splitgate 1 glass piece of back. That'd be
Oh
funny.
no, not the Splitgate one
That'd be
glass.
funny.
No. Oh god.
The overused glass piece.
Because
Oh my
most
God.
people right now do glass with the light shafts from Fracture. They scale up or make it however big they need, and then they just put one of the invisible blockers on there and kind of make
Yeah.
pseudo windows. It's a better visual in the idea that there's glass there compared to just having a blocker there or something. So
Yeah, there's Atlantis remake that's really good. I think that's the method that they're using.
yeah, I wouldn't doubt it. Next up on here says, will there be a prefab shop added to the game where you can publish a prefab and it'll pop up on the shop publicly where players can search and download it?
In the shop, like you're gonna pay for it. You guys want to pay for
That
prefabs?
I'm not
I hope
trying.
not.
Maybe
You
they're
want to get a
talking.
cut for prefabs though.
Maybe they're talking about like
Not shop.
maybe they're talking about a prefab
I think it's like
community
a
share.
Like
browser.
like
Yeah.
a map
It's like a
browser,
browser.
but
Yeah.
for
Yes.
prefabs.
I got you. Yeah, we've talked about this too. I think I mean the dream is to have a map browser, mode browser, prefab browser. So prefab browser happens to be the least important one of those three, but it's still pretty important.
Yeah.
So it is on my list. I just don't have anything to really say about it at the moment. It's on my list.
That's fair.
So before we finish the map builders questions, there was a couple questions I saw you guys ask. This one's by Core that I thought would be interesting to ask. Will we ever see a comeback of underwater sections as like kind of similar to like what we had in Splitgate 1 map creator?
As in going under the water plane?
Yeah, like going underneath
Yeah.
the water. I don't think it was utilized very well in Splitgate 1, but maybe you guys can do it better this time, you know?
So what I remember from Splitgate 1 is we were able to go in the water a little bit, but depending on the graphics settings you had your game set to, it could be extremely blurry and you were almost
Yeah.
like not able to see.
Yeah, it caused problems where
Same.
like you just can't see
Yeah.
much.
But being able to add that feature into your maps was still it was kind of cool.
Yeah. I'll comment on this because I was working on this yesterday, actually. So there have been reports of objectives being reset when
Oh
they
yeah,
touch
yeah,
water.
that feedback from Coma, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
So, yeah, if it touches, not if it touches water, but there's a kill volume. If it touches the kill
Yeah.
volume, it will be
Yeah.
reset.
Yes.
So that means like the reason why you couldn't go underwater in the first place was because that takes quite a bit. Like it's not just you just wrap it with the thing and you call it done, right? Like you need to actually put a post process under there. You need to put audio volumes to make sure that it sounds right. Like there's more to it than that. And what I have done is basically allow you to go underwater for 1,000 units, which is
Oh, okay.
roughly like 10 meters, right?
Yeah, 10 meters.
So you can go
That's
10
enough.
meters under the water currently. I think this should be in chapter 2, so you guys should see it then. But you'll be able to go underwater. There will be audio changes. There will be a post process.
Oh, yeah.
Cool.
It is not perfect, but it is
I mean-
functional. It'll get you guys sort of what you need. You won't be able to see, like you can see through the water down a little bit, but you can't really see up. So right now you can't shoot through the water plane. That's
I
the
think that
only
was how it was
limitation.
in Splitgate 1.
That's how
as well.
you could
Yeah.
like kind of see out, but it was so disformed that you really couldn't make out a perfect shape.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there will be similar sort of vibes, and this is because it actually takes quite a bit of effort to do this right.
Well,
The
that's
solution I've implemented is to just make sure we're not messing up the gameplay for you guys. Right? If
Well,
it touches water, it shouldn't just instantly
I
zap
was gonna
out.
say,
I gotta
even
make
when
sure
you
that's fixed.
are underwater, and if you're ever to like look up and try to look out, like and see what's out there, you really can't. It's just hard to see with water. So that tracks with what you would see if you were to go underwater and try and look out.
Yeah, but more can be done, right? Like, bullets underwater, maybe they shouldn't travel as far, right? Or do as
Yeah.
much damage or something, right? Like you would kind of expect some things to change.
Yeah.
We just don't ever spend, like there's no map in the game where you're underwater, so there's no dev resources for
That makes
this, right?
sense.
It's kind of just, yeah, you can do it, but it's like it's on you guys to kind of make it fun
Yeah.
at the moment. So
Which we're fine with.
I can imagine official map where you set down 2 portal, 1 outside of water, 1 inside water, and it's like a vacuum just sucking someone out of the water.
Oh, that'll be neat.
Yeah. There's
Yeah,
gonna
that'd
be
be
weird
neat.
stuff.
Yeah, so
Totally expect weird stuff. It's not going to look perfect,
yeah.
for reasons just like that. I mean, without the resources behind it, like we have to do dev stuff with this if we want it to be really polished.
Yeah.
So we kind of have to temper
That
expectations for
that could
map
be
creators, so.
a that could be like a fun like portal kill idea. It's like maybe it's just like a like when you're like in space, you just place a portal out of the space vacuum, and then it just sucks the enemy who's near it out into space and dies. That'd be funny.
I mean, we would need some sort of pull mechanic to do that, but I think that would be cool to have like a pull
Yeah.
mechanic in the game. I know that's not a question for you. Well, it's the gravitas.
Gravitas.
Yeah, yeah, but I mean like how some portals when you go through them it can launch you. What if there was a portal wall that actually sucked you?
Maybe.
Just a thought,
We
Cool,
just need
yeah,
the
cool idea.
we just need the portal gel, you know.
right?
Just let's get the source code from Portal 2. It's like, yep. Hunter Killer asks, can we get static character models to make the huge statues like the official maps have?
Oh, that'd be kind of cool.
Some of those maps are actually animated characters, right? They're not stationary.
Yeah.
The one on Grit is a actual statue,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
Maybe. I mean, I think there's a little bit of like we can absolutely provide something in a pose or a T pose or something like that if you wanted to use it for scale. If you want to
Yeah,
use
that
it
would be
for
interesting.
posing, that becomes a little bit different, but it's not out the realm of possibility. I can request things be baked down into a posed character, but they probably would be expensive because they're fairly complex with complex materials. So
To add on this, I think it would be interesting if we can get like kind of like little like dummies that like simulates like maybe they're like players. Like could, like maybe have them tied into like, yo, aim assist can work on this, so you can like also test like your aim assist levels on just like stationary dummies or something like that. I think that could be pretty
Oh.
cool.
Yeah, that would like.
Yep.
That would be cool.
Yeah.
Your own pseudo firing range, kind of.
Yeah.
Like you could create a firing range yourself then.
Yeah.
Yeah. Even though we already know that's in development, so it's like
I mean, yeah, but even once it is made, there are people who like to make aim training maps too, and having a
Yeah.
dummy like that would help.
I suppose, but in most cases, if you're in an aim training, I always thought M&K, and there's already a bunch of programs that really do that in
Well,
a
there's
lot of cases.
people who make the
But
like specific aim training maps within games, so that way you can practice with the game mechanics,
yeah,
though.
I suppose so. Yeah.
All right,
Yeah.
let's do this one more before we get to map builders questions. So one by Course asks could we get some options to define a zone for low gravity, like create like a moon movement physics? So yeah,
I mean, that would be really cool. I think there's a ton of potential that you can do with like put a zone here and it does this inside, right? Um, so yeah, these are things that are definitely on our radar. It's just a matter of again dev resources and what's available. We try to use things that we've already built and extend them over to Map Creator. That's where we're going to get the most quick turnaround. Anything that has to be done from scratch or require outside teams is going to take longer. So just
Well,
that's typically how it works.
I wonder if you guys have considered about using zones like that within dev maps as well, because I feel like you could make some interesting and unique maps by doing that.
Yeah, of course. But again, it has to have the dev resources behind it. So we'd have to
Yeah.
have a map for it. And yeah, each feature that doesn't exist in the game would need that sort of same treatment. Because now, like, what happens when you go into it? Do you have different animations? Like, what happens to
Screen
your
effect.
jetpack? Yeah,
Yeah.
screen effects. Like, there's a lot of other questions that come in, and we can bootstrap a bunch of like janky stuff just to make it work. But ideally, we get something that's purpose built that we're using elsewhere. Because if not, then it becomes one off and nobody else uses it in the game, and then you only ever see it in Map Creator, right? Like the pipeline typically has to go from production to us. And if
Yep.
we skip production, then those features are not in production.
Yeah.
No, that makes sense.
take it away, Coma.
All right, back to questions CXG plays. Can you guys add a locked game mode and game mode settings option so we can turn on before publishing map? This would be great for a lot of maps, especially parkour maps. This will make it where you can't change a game mode and its settings are for a specific map you picked. It'll automatically pick the game mode and publisher locked onto that map.
So like force tying a game mode to a map, basically.
I believe so. That's kind
Yeah.
of the way I understood it.
Yeah, so I thought this was the strategy that you guys were doing with the map browser at first. Like you know how it has like a map slot and a mode slot, right? I thought what that was gonna be was that you could basically assign your custom game mode to the mode slot, and maybe it'll just be there from the get go when you load the map. If you have like let's say a custom game mode to go with it, right? And then maybe like if you didn't want to do that game mode, you can also just change it to the core game modes. So like maybe that was
Yeah.
something you guys could maybe do. Who knows?
I mean, I think the way we've talked about um, this sort of map mode combo thing in the past is that you should be able to define what modes your map is made for. And that doesn't mean that they can only be played there necessarily, but those are like the intended experience from the creator. And this kind of, again, ties back into uh, like custom modes in the first place. You need to be able to select the mode that you want, but maybe your map has something where it pre-populates or pre-favorites all of the ones that are um, designated for the map, right? Like
Yeah.
there's a few things that we could potentially do, just nothing in the works, nothing to really comment on at the moment. But it's a cool idea.
Yeah, absolutely. This one's another questionable one. I don't know if you're gonna be able to answer this, but are there any music and sound devices planned? for like ambient sounds, something like that?
We're talking. I mean, right now you do have ambient in all canvases, but it's non-adjustable, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
My goal is to absolutely have some audio options. Uh, I mean, I want to be able to place audio in the map, and it's like a jukebox, and you can change the track by going up to it and hitting a button. Like, there's so many cool ideas I would love to have. And audio in particular is on our radar. We are talking about it, but I just don't have anything to share about it.
Yeah, I kind of mentioned when Rod put out that little song about apologizing for the servers. I was I remember when it came out, and
We'd have to buy the rights from him.
yeah, probably, but the first thing that came to my mind is having a Club Silo remake and hearing that in the background. I think
Oh yeah,
would have sold it, you know.
That'd be fun.
yeah. I don't know if
So
we want to permanently remind people of the server issues, but
I
it would be fun for a little while.
hey man, it's history, you know.
Maybe you could
It's,
do it.
it's always there, you know.
Maybe it could be a temporary April Fool's update.
Unless you can go back and rewrite it, you know, it's always going to be there.
I am
Mhm.
telling you
Split
that
rolled, yeah.
video is gonna be coming back up in 5 to 10 years. We're all gonna watch it again and be like, "Oh, yep, I remember the launch.
Yeah, I remember when we survived the beta.
We survived the beta."
All right, so this is the last question,
Oh.
and it starts off with, this wouldn't be added anytime soon, but maybe triggers and keyframes. So I'm gonna
I
assume
mean,
like area triggers and something like that.
yeah, we've also talked about these. I one of the ways that I think about what we're trying to give here versus maybe some other editors like Halo Infinite's Forge. Forge is very powerful, right? Like the amount
Yeah.
of things that you can do with scripting and all these other things, they're really powerful. The problem is they're very intimidating as well. Uh, Oftentimes you need to find someone that just knows what they're doing. Like for you to do like maybe some basic setup, it takes quite a bit of learning and quite a bit of experience. And that's a challenge for a big number of people. And we've seen that from the feedback that we've gotten from people that have used the editor. They get intimidated by some of that stuff, right?
Yep.
So there's a balance to be had for how powerful you can be versus how many like the power you offer is often almost always at odds with how easy it is to use. So there's somewhere that's more balanced in the middle approach that we'd like to take in a perfect world. Um, there's no plans or ETA that I can give you for when triggers and interactables like that would come in. But it is something that I really want personally. It's something that I've seen a lot of people ask for. But yeah, again, it comes back to what's important. Everything for us is we have a small team working on Map
Yeah.
Creator. When can we get to it? What is demanded now? What's going to move the needle now? And as cool as those things are, they're just not at the top of the list at the moment.
To like piggyback off that question a bit, I know we won't see it in the map editor for a while. We haven't even seen a trigger event in really a dev map much, except for the doors opening for the BR maps. And that's not even triggered by the player. That's just a timed event that happens. In the future, would we be able to see that on the dev maps? Like you have a planned map where there is some sort of trigger that happens.
I mean, I can't tell you future dev maps.
Ah,
I can say that this is something like the very first map I worked on had dynamic components,
okay.
and it did not make it into the game. So
Okay.
you never got
So
to see it, unfortunately.
so you guys have at least have a couple designs for
Yes,
the map.
we've
Okay.
been dabbling in stuff, but
It's
yeah,
more
I
I'm
just think
guessing
players want want some kind of dynamic nature,
Yeah.
right? You want things to change or feel like the
Well,
place is alive.
Yeah, like Juice
You-
said, I noticed that the map core, I think the windows don't actually open until the power weapons are up. If
Correct.
I'm not
Yeah,
mistaken.
so
Okay.
Yeah,
I time those to match the timing of the power weapon spawn. So they
yeah.
spawn like 5 seconds, or they drop 5 seconds before the windows open, or
The window.
before the power weapon spawn.
Yeah, that's
Sorry.
pretty neat.
Yeah,
yeah,
Are
the
those
idea
is
was
that
to
the
like
is that the
yeah, the
slit through
slits
middle?
Yeah,
Oh,
between
okay.
the two
Yeah, the things
bases.
that makes sense. You can see between two bases. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, the idea there was like shooting like pot shots at each other off the start. It doesn't really do very much. If you spawned with snipers, maybe you could have a couple shenanigans through there. But we thought it was just more interesting if the windows dropped and right after the power weapon spawn. And if it was a snipe, you're lining that shot up, whoever's grabbing it first, right? So it kind of
Yeah.
rewards the player that's in position and things like that.
At that
Reminds
point,
me of the old Call of Duty window wars where everybody like gets into a custom lobby with snipers
at
and they
that
just have to
point,
like snipe each other team out the windows.
at that point, I kind of just feel like core should just always have two deadbolts. At that point, like don't make it any other power weapons. Just make it two deadbolts.
Or
I
the
think at one point it
Borealis.
was.
Oh yeah.
We experimented with a randomized power weapon in the center of the artifact, the
Yeah.
hamburger artifact.
Yeah.
yeah.
We had one there, but it moves. So like you have a power weapon that's stationary, and then the platform moves, and it looks odd. So there's some things where like the environment kind of changes how you approach sort of certain gameplay elements.
I have a question. Do you know any reasoning why they decided to go with the random power weapons instead of having a set power weapon on maps?
Yeah, I think the idea was variety, right? Like
Alrighty, okay.
if you're
Replayability.
playing a round based thing or not like non-rounds, regular like deathmatch or whatever, like you're getting that power weapon to respawn multiple times. Like you kind of want something new to fight over.
Okay.
It's a little bit different from classic arena where things are like controlled and you
Yep.
know where to go to fight for the one thing. But
Yep.
you do reduce playability or replayability because it's the same thing. Maybe
Yep.
that's better for more sweaty competitive matches.
Yeah.
Maybe in a tournament setting, they only want to see one.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
but for a larger audience, we felt
The
uh,
random was better.
randomness
Yeah.
gave us at least some different replayability. But that's not to say that like that sort of stuff might not change. Like we could pivot at any moment depending on how we think it's going to play, right?
Yeah.
Do you think we in the map editor will at least be able to get the freedom to like choose which power weapons we place soon, or do you not know?
You're putting me in a pickle, man.
Okay,
You
I'm just
already
curious
squeezed
about
all the
these
Go-Gurt,
things. I'm
man.
not trying to squeeze here.
No, actually, I'll give you this one. We are working on providing weapon pads where you can dial in the weapons you want. Yes.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Um,
Okay.
because whenever I was playing with Ben during I think his 24-hour live stream, he wanted us to kind of help him with customs, and he was like, "Oh, y'all can't assign power weapons specifically." He's like, "I'm gonna see if I can push that a little bit higher." So,
Yeah.
um,
It's
but yeah,
already been pushed.
Okay.
We're working
yeah,
on it because that has some compounding effects. Like another thing that is under the surface that the player base is not really going to see or maybe even understand is that sometimes you do something first because it gives you the code in systems that affect other things down the pipe, right? So something might not make sense. Like, why are they doing this before this? Well, chances are it's because it has some code that can be reused and repurposed into the next thing. And so you get this effect where you're steamrolling, you're like
Yeah,
compounding your interest, you're snowballing down the hill, and
that's
picking up
kind
speed.
of That's kind of what I thought it was. I felt like you guys gave us that just because it was the only option you really could give us at the time was just the power weapons. But at least it gave us something to use too at the time.
Yeah, so we're working on currently the plan is to do the power weapon pad and give you the options that you need there.
Yep.
We are trying to do some other stuff, but I don't want to get into it just yet. Because I don't have all the answers just yet.
All
But
good.
we want to start there. We're going to start with giving you more control over the power weapons.
Let's go. Let's
Uh,
go.
Yerky, do you want to pull up the official Discord questions and maybe just get to the ones
Yeah.
that you think are like the must ask first?
Yeah. I already had weaved
Give me-
a couple questions in because they were ones I felt like were important too.
Mhm.
Give me the most bombastic question you have in there.
The most bombastic. Okay, that's trying to see. Where was it? Do you care that it's not even about level design or the map editor at all?
Whatever you got.
Okay, because like a lot of people just
Oh, I
don't
thought
even
that
ask about
I
that.
thought that was a question
Okay.
for the community of like what?
No, okay. This one's from Momentum Sin. I'll even read it word for word. My main concern is netcode jank. They are addressing this slowly. It seems I'll see how the update feels tonight. I do, however, keep hearing complaints that there aren't enough portal surfaces in SG2 as a frequent rage quitter. I regularly play SG1. SG2 portal surfaces seem far more deliberate for pathing than SG1. So I guess I have two questions. Will they concede to SG1 maidens and add as many seamlessly random portal surfaces as SG1 or more deliberate? And then will SG1 mains be ignored as it may further confuse new/casual players? I think
Quite a mouthful of a question.
Yeah.
quite the
Let's take it.
mouthful.
Let's take it in parts.
Okay.
So I guess first part is like, yes, Splitgate 1 has way more portal surfaces than Splitgate 2. That's kind of like we've talked about this a little bit already, right?
Yeah. More
Splitgate 1
deliberate
portals
portals
are
this time.
everywhere.
Yeah.
To say they're deliberate is just like, yes, there are deliberate. Like you can't tell me that Blaze wasn't somewhat deliberate about his portal choice locations.
Yeah.
You can't tell me Ian wasn't somewhat deliberate, but they were also like extreme. They were excessive. They were everywhere.
Yeah.
And one of the consequences of this, and not saying that this philosophy is perfect or whatever, or make excuses, but one of the consequences of this is that when a new player plays your map, they are now getting shot in the back from everywhere.
Mhm.
And this is not good for a casual player base. So, when you have so many places where another player can be, and most of them are behind you, that is not a good experience for most casuals, and you lose players pretty quickly. That said, we've lost players here pretty quickly, so we're clearly doing things that we need to improve on anyways. But is it the maps? Is it the modes? Is it the progression? Like, there's so many questions, right? So this is a hard problem to solve because if we go and throw 100, like double the portal walls, because that's what people are asking for. They're asking for
I
like
know.
double to triple the walls. That is not going to make the game better, especially when we retrofit it onto maps. And I know that might be a little controversial. Anyone coming from Splitgate 1 that really believed in that philosophy of portals everywhere, they're probably not going to like that answer. But it's not an easy answer to give regardless, right? It's not as cut and dry as, yeah, Splitgate 1 was better because they're just everywhere. There's benefits of making your portals more intentional in Splitgate 2. One of them is it's easier to understand map control. If you are in a certain location and you see a player is in a certain location, you know where they can be by learning the map. That is impossible in Splitgate 1, right?
Yeah.
So there's good things and bad things about both methodologies. I think in Splitgate 2, our mistake was not doing nearly as much of the fun portal opportunities, right? We dialed back and went very safe on how our portals are positioned because we thought, okay, people are getting overwhelmed on how they're being approached, and we didn't incorporate the floor portals, the as many launches as intended, ceiling portals, angled. We didn't put many kill portals, right, like off the
Yep.
side of the map.
Yep.
I mean, it's noobs that are mostly getting portal killed. Not entirely, but it
It's
is noobs. So
mainly.
we have to remember who loses from those things. It's funny for that guy,
Yeah.
but it's not so funny for the guy that gets portal killed. So trying to limit some of those things is meant to not abuse those players so badly when they first step in to a jarring experience. Like portals take time to learn, and there has to be a little bit of leeway that goes both ways, that understands both the competitive side, the fun side, and the casual newbie, right? So it's not as easy as just add more portals. I wish it were. My job would be easy all of a sudden.
But yeah, you also said before that as we get more maps too, you'll see just more variety in play style too, which is what
Yeah,
we're
I think
hoping to see.
that will definitely be seen. Some of the maps that are in the pipe right now are a little bit crazier than you've seen previously. Um, there are some like things where we think that they are too crazy though. Like a lot
Yep.
of people really love Olympus, but imagine the first time you've ever played the game playing Olympus,
I
you're
still,
just gonna
yeah,
uninstall. Like it's very jarring for a new player to jump into that. And maybe you have like a really positive mindset and you're like, whoa, this is insane. Like, but to expect that for the first time, it's just it's a challenge, right? So
I I I would consider myself a Splitgate 1 veteran, and even I, to this day, Olympus was never my favorite map. I understand why people like it because the high skills ceiling involved with playing it, and just how well it worked with the mechanics of Splitgate 1. Um, it just parts of it never really felt quite comfortable as I played around with it,
Mhm.
I guess. But that was just more my play style, I think.
Yeah, I think again there's maps like that. In my mind, Olympus is incredibly complex, right? There's so many different places that a player can be. The geometry is not exactly super streamlined, and the colors are bright and everywhere, right? Like there's
Mhm.
no. It would be different, I think, if the map visually kind of tied itself together a little bit nicer.
Yeah.
And that's a challenge from like trying to do the early days where we had the crazy sportier sort of vibe going on.
Yep.
Um, but from a new player's perspective, that's a challenge. So, like, I'm not saying we can't ever do a map like that. I'm just saying if we do, it needs to be playable by everybody, right? Everybody needs to be able to play the map for us to back it with a year's worth of development time or whatever
Yep.
it takes to push the map out, right? So, that's kind of why the map creator for me is so important because you can do whatever you want in there. And
Yep.
if it's awesome, we can throw it into matchmaking and people can try these crazier things that didn't cost, whatever millions of dollars to produce. Um, so like that's to me why map creator is super important. That's why I have been like it's been such a big part of my personal journey too, being able to make my experiences. So that's what I'm hoping that some people can kind of get out of this is if there's not a map that we've made that you really vibe with, someone in the community is gonna make something that you do.
I
And
mean,
Mhm.
I know
We
there's
should be
already.
able to do some crazier stuff. Like we shouldn't be as reserved as we were, and I think
Yeah.
we've moved in that direction. But you
Okay.
guys haven't seen everything yet, because again, things take a little bit more time to be produced. I think you will see some cool stuff pretty soon, and hopefully more as we go.
How? I was gonna say, I know we already have a couple community members that have already started making Abyss, and someone's working on Olympus. I'm not sure how far they are with it so far, but uh,
I saw Abyss. It looked like it was in blockout form
yep,
Yes,
still,
yeah,
mini
and
bit
then
this. Yes.
they're
yeah,
working on the art, but they're having troubles, I think, right now with the coloring of the primitives. It just uh from what he said, I think the blocks are just too shiny right now to get the aesthetic quite right, but at the
Mhm.
same time, oh, go
I've been guiding Kima Juice a little bit here and there for Olympus.
Olympus, yep,
He's doing some good work on it. I will say, like I'm excited for it whenever he finishes it.
heck yeah, I
I
am
think
too.
Sam was working on a reimagining of Olympus and Map Creator as well. I don't know if he's
Awesome.
still
Oh, okay.
doing
I
it. I
think
know he stopped
we
to
need
do
those.
Tryhard, but uh, what he was working on looked really cool. So,
Hell yeah,
Huh.
Nice.
hell
Interesting.
yeah.
by the way, we are working on an actual color exposed color picker, so you will see your actual color. I think we'll still
Oh,
like allow the
nice.
RGB sliders,
Oh, okay.
but
Yeah.
you'll be
Yeah,
able to actually
if
go
you,
into a color panel and pick
it'll
colors.
just have the pre-picked colors. That's nice.
It's like the graph and stuff like
Yeah,
that. Or
Yep.
is that like a graph? Yeah.
It's a color wheel, basically, color
Wheel.
picker
wheel.
Yeah.
Oh,
wheel type
okay.
of.
Yeah.
Though it's not circular. I don't know. What do you call it if it's not circular?
Is it
I don't
in a
know.
block form
Square.
where you
A
it's like the
color
color
square.
scroll? Yeah, the
Color square.
Yeah, color square. Um, so that'll be nice as well.
I don't want to force another ad for people, so I think we should end the podcast within the next 25 minutes. So, like
I
any
mean,
like
I think that's a good time.
any last questions from the chat or from my co-host Koma, Yurgi, or anything for
I
Garrett?
I do have one. I didn't answer. I didn't ask this yet, and this is something that I submitted for Yurgi's interview with Finest Bin, and it was when developing Splitgate 2. What was the funniest bug that you encountered? Is there anything that comes to mind?
I mean, it's different being on level design, and map creator. I don't know if there's like a funny individual bug from level design. I mean, you're moving
Nothing
blocks
you.
around.
Yeah.
Not really.
I was about to say because he mentioned about how there was like an animation issue with the characters coming up from the portals. I think it was the end of the game or pre-match or something that always made them
Oh,
dabbing. And I
that's
was
right.
curious if you
You
had
know what?
anything.
I do have one, but it's not from ours. It's just a bug that we've seen. Almost
Yeah,
all the funniest ones are animation related though. Like
yeah.
it's like guaranteed to be funny. We had one where I don't even know how to describe this, but the the animations broke or something on the characters, and it was only broken. I can't remember if you had like a certain gun or if you were wearing a certain skin, but you would look like just a complete horror show, and your limbs would like step over each other really lanky and stuff, and you're like your skin was like all like shiny and blackened, and it just looked like this terrifying spider coming after you or something. And it was there for like a couple weeks too, and it would like just jump scare you when someone would show up. I can't remember exactly what caused it though, but that was quite
It
hilarious and
sounds like
scary.
the animation was like a little too scaled up for like the player model or something to me, but it's hard to say.
Something broke. Something
Yeah,
broke the skinning on the character, and it just went crazy. But yeah,
that's
it's
yeah, that's
usually in animation where stuff goes quite hilarious.
yeah, because I remember the official post or the official Splitgate posted the bug with the giant BFB bat where you can see it across like bypass.
Oh.
Yeah, it was massive. Yeah.
We had
And then
characters that big too at one
Oh,
point.
really?
There was a
Wow.
bug where the characters blew up. Again, I think it was like a skin or something that caused them to do that, and they would just be like these huge giants in the back of the biomes. It would be hilarious.
It does kind of remind me of the I think it's the attachment bug. I don't know if y'all patched that or not, but it made the attachments really big, so people would hold
Oh
up their
yeah.
pistols and be like the barrels or something like that.
Yeah, I've seen
So
the big rock, someone holding like a big bullet and a big rocket.
yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
Yeah, those ones. I don't know if they've actually been fixed or if they're so obscure we haven't got to them yet.
I
Also, they're
haven't
funny,
seen
so
any
you kind of
lately.
want to keep
Yeah,
those around.
I was gonna say
Right?
they're funny, but it's like when it comes down to it, having stuff that obscures the player and like competitive, I was like, all right, maybe it might need to get fixed at some
Yeah,
point.
at
You
some
know?
point.
So yeah.
I know you're
Yeah.
not. I know you're not really the guy to ask, but maybe you can forward this to the team, Garrett. This is gonna be wacky. It's gonna be funny and random, right? So I have this idea where maybe we could see a return of the Teabag Confirmed from Splitgate 1, but the twist would be, you guys know how you guys have that fart noise happening when you're crouching a lot? Maybe you guys can amp it up where it happens very frequently with the Teabag Confirmed game mode. I think that would be hilarious.
Just during that mode, yeah.
The request or
Yeah, it's basically a request.
It's a request.
Yeah.
I think the whole community, when they hear about this, will get on board.
all right, I'll let the people know. I'll get on the horn.
Thank you.
Teabag confirmed, but with extra farts.
There was a question from Core,
And
and he said, "How do you
Yeah.
like the podcast and the SGA community so far?"
I'm still trying to figure it out.
He hates it.
No, no, I think like again, I came from a Forge, similar Forge community, mostly on like the MLG sweaty kid side, and they were toxic is probably not the right word, but they were brutally honest, big egos and stuff like that, and I haven't really seen that over here. I've definitely seen the honesty, but it's always with positive intention. So I appreciate that from you guys here at Architects.
I'm
especially.
sorry if I'm too blunt at times. I know that I can be a bit much with how I say shit and ask for stuff, but I swear I am just the best of intent here.
Yeah.
I love everyone.
I don't believe you. The worst intents. No, I would say besides squeezing me, you guys have been great. So
I mean, it's a part of asking you questions. I feel like if we didn't a bit,
I didn't.
people be like,
I expected it, to be clear.
yeah. I feel like people, when they watch an interview and you don't try and like ask a question that the person can't answer, they go like, well, you're not even asking them any questions. It's like, okay, well,
Yeah, it's if you don't squeeze me, they're gonna squeeze you.
yeah.
So
pretty
I got
much.
it. Don't worry. But yeah, even like the harder ones, I think it's important to be just open about it. Like I feel like we're pretty much an open book. Like we try to communicate a lot of this stuff to you guys.
Absolutely.
In
100%.
particular, like I've been trying to be more active in the communities, just to make sure like you guys feel like you're being heard.
Yeah.
Bugs aren't just like getting forgotten about. Like I'm trying to do my best there, and it's been a challenge to juggle that with both level design responsibilities and map creator responsibilities. So.
I don't know if Cord's been keeping up with this, but he's been doing this thing in our community where, let's say you already addressed a bug or something, or like you already have like a fix for it, he'll like change the name of it as like completed or something, or like
I think it's a tag.
It's a tag.
It tags it as like fixed or responded or something like that.
Yeah,
That's
so
how it works. So
I
I
think
like
Being tracked.
Yeah, I
Oh
think
no.
I think that helps the community out to figure out like what's already been said and what's
Do
already
you
been
see why I
answered.
have to be
Yeah.
careful about what I say?
Yep.
Hey, at least you're not doing the 24-hour stream like Ben did, because
Dude, he's
he
insane for
did.
doing that. He's
Yeah,
crazy.
he said a few things that probably shouldn't have been said. I won't repeat
That's
them
okay.
here, but you know,
I
sometimes
could
it's
That
not
like,
When you
watch
get
the
no
match.
sleep,
oh
Things
yeah,
come out.
absolutely.
things come
Yeah.
out,
Yeah,
man, for sure.
yeah,
that was how
absolutely.
I discovered that the piercing mod for some reason has increased aim assist on controller. I'm like, okay, that's weird. But sure.
Don't need.
Yeah, it was a very obscure thing he
Yeah.
mentioned on his stream. So,
Mhm.
but yeah,
That
you've been
he's got a lot
just
of insight into the programming and
oh yeah, I
especially
bet he does.
sandbox side.
Yeah, because he did say that he like concepted and like prototyped a lot of the power weapons or some of the weapons or something like that. I think
Mhm.
from what he said. So, but yeah, y'all have just been really communicative, especially whenever
Yeah.
I was having the issue with like loading into projects in the map creator. You came and were like, "Let's see if we can get this sorted."
Yeah,
And
for
eventually you did,
context,
yeah.
yeah, for context, guys, Coma could not get in his map at all. Garrett was like, "Let me hop in VC and help you out," and he was basically like in VC for like probably a good like solid like 20 minutes or so, just trying to get things figured out and resolved for him. So it was
Yeah.
really nice of him to do that.
Well, that helps us too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, Kowzzz just raided.
Yeah, Kowzzz is rated. Thanks for the
Yo.
raid,
What's up,
Kowzzz.
Kowzzz?
What's up,
Welcome,
What up?
guys.
We appreciate the
Welcome in.
support, Kowzzz, and all your viewers too. What's up?
Yep. What's going on, Raiders?
No, I was gonna even say, it was the first day of the beta, or like the first week of the beta, and I was doing my 24-hour build stream. You had actually came into my chat and pointed out how the volumes weren't supposed to be like that. I didn't even know that the volumes were messed up. So
Yeah.
it's just kind of cool to see that you are noticing bugs before even I can.
What's scary when I see a bug and I'm like,
Oh no.
what happened? You know,
gotta
like,
go put that on the list, you know.
Right.
A
uh,
scroll that goes to the floor. Yeah.
I jump straight to Slack. I'm like, guys, no. But yeah,
Yeah.
some of this is it's good when I can fix it.
Yeah.
If it's like a in-engine surface level bug that I can handle, I'm quite happy because then I don't have to bug anybody. But if it's something a bit more challenging and I got to reach out, then it's like, ah, man, is this guy even awake? You know, like, so yeah, we're trying to be on top of them as much as we can. It's quite a challenge because there's so many possible obscure ways that we never thought of things being used that you guys are using them in, and that's expected. So uh,
Trying to
we're
adapt.
doing our best to keep up.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. No, it's great to hear. It's great to hear.
Yeah,
And
because it was
underwater
devastating.
coming soon,
Yeah.
so you don't lose your
Underwater.
objectives.
I'll have
Yeah.
you know, I don't know what part of me just didn't process it, but
The bushes
when
have vision.
I the
Oh
bushes have
no.
vision.
Yeah,
Um
they should, right?
whenever I was making low tide, because I've been remaking low tide from Splitgate 1, and I tested split ball because I was testing it for something, and I didn't process the split ball landing in the water and resetting repeatedly as something that, oh, I should be worried about that. So when I completed the map and we started playtesting, I then tried to set up the firecracker and I set it down as it was planted and then it reset. I was like, now it's starting to sink in, literally. So I was like, that kind of
Yeah.
sucks, you know? It's like,
So I think our out of bounds and our kill zones will both reset. I could be wrong on the out of bounds, but kill will absolutely reset. So
yeah,
if it touches that,
absolutely.
it's gonna go back to wherever it was.
So I have had some testing with this a bit, and the out of bounds it doesn't reset at all. So if it's in like a soft kill or just an out of bounds zone, it'll just sit there for a while until it does its natural
It should
reset.
have a
That
reset. when it's out of bounds. No, maybe it's not working on the map creator version.
I'm
Okay,
not
let me
sure
take
if
notes.
it's.
Look, see, you guys
I'm
are
not sure
sending
if
me bug
he.
reports.
So I'm not
7
sure
o'clock.
if he was using a soft kill or an out of bounds though. So it was one of the two.
Well, out of bounds and soft kill are the same thing.
It's the
correct
same
me if
thing,
I'm
yeah.
not-
Yeah,
yeah.
but
Yeah.
it wasn't resetting on one of them.
Okay, I'll look into it.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I didn't want to bug Garrett with a bunch of
Bug report filed, guys.
yeah, bug
We're in.
reports.
Well,
That's what we
Yeah,
use the
that's-
Discord for. It's bug reports.
Yep. Do we have any other questions? Does anyone from Kowzzz chat have a question for Garrett before we
We could probably do like one or two more.
yeah.
I want to cut it off before Twitch forces more ads for you guys. So there's like 10
Yep.
minutes left. So this like one last one perhaps. Anyone want to ask?
Someone brought up saving game modes, and yes, we are. They're working on it.
Yeah.
They know about it. We just don't know when it's gonna come. And if that's yeah.
I didn't even know Squid Games was on tonight. Are you guys watching?
Yeah,
I love the freaking first 2 seasons.
Yeah,
They're
I'm-
so good.
Squid Games is good.
I might go put it on right now if it's actually out.
Yeah, yeah, it's already out. I'm a bit tired, so I'm probably not gonna watch an episode today. Maybe like one, but I'm definitely gonna binge the entire season tomorrow for sure. It's only 6 episodes, but I mean it's still like 6 hours, so I'm committed. But no, man, I'm gonna watch it all.
Hell yeah.
Randomized maps in the browser? Do you mean like a button that just gives you one?
Oh,
That would be pretty
that could
crazy.
be interesting. Yeah.
That would be interesting.
It'd be gamble and a half.
It would be, your odds would not be very good to land something good, I would say, just because there's so many like junk maps that have been kind of published and not unpublished over time.
Because people are spamming spacebar to get their maps up front. Huh. Yeah, I can see.
I've seen that too. A lot of spacebar spam. Honestly, it shouldn't be done based on your name. It should be done based on
When you
like
publish.
every new map should have a moment in the spotlight at the front of that page, in my opinion.
Okay.
Was the
It should
publishing
be
bug
time
fixed?
based.
Because I remember there was a period of time when people would publish a map, it would publish like duplicates of,
Oh yeah,
of that
That was a
map.
visual bug only. It
Oh,
wasn't
visual
actually
bug.
Yeah. I
making
remember
several maps.
I felt like
Okay.
almost like an asshole because it's like when the beta first launched, I noticed that there was a bunch of maps like spammed, and I was like, "Oh, I guess some dude is just trying to get like first map made."
No,
you
we
know,
all
go
had
get
that
some-
thought. It's like,
Yeah.
why is this guy
and-
spam his map a billion times?
Yeah, and then I published my Losange map, and then all of a sudden I see it on my end. I'm like, "Oh, now I look like the asshole." You know, it's like I didn't mean it. You know,
It wasn't me.
I
Yeah,
swear,
it
I
was-
didn't
Yeah,
try to.
no, we know what you were up to.
Oh, this
We knew what you were trying to do.
so someone kind of mentioned what I kind of would like to see too. So someone said community star rating maps and random maps only pick 4-star and above. I would love a system where like maybe not like a like or dislike option, but just like a like. Just to find out if people like your map, right? Like it's like maybe a thumbs up indicator, like mark maps that you like, and then like you could basically get an idea of like what maps are being liked by people, right? I think that could be
Or-
pretty nice.
Even if it's not like, just like say it's being bookmarked, so like they can save it in their like catalog of saved maps that they can then go to.
Or
use whenever.
I assume like this feature will come eventually because there is a filter for the amount of downloads, but it doesn't work yet because downloading isn't really a thing yet. Maybe we can actually see the amount of downloads the maps are getting as well.
or plays.
Yeah.
something.
And plays, yeah, that'd be cool.
Yeah, we're talking about likes and bookmarks internally.
Okay.
Just again, a matter of time. backend has a lot of these go in through the backend, and that's why it takes time right now because
Yep.
they're behind. So
Mhm.
as soon as we can get these features in, they will be in, I promise. So
Awesome.
Yeah.
working on
Heck yeah.
working on stuff.
Okay.
How
Well,
close are we to ads, Phoenix? Are we wrapping up?
like 6 minutes. We should probably just wrap up here. But yeah,
Alright.
thank you for coming aboard, Garrett. Like, I really appreciate you having being here and everything. And then yeah, there was a lot of good questions, a lot of good answers, and yeah, really appreciate you coming on the podcast
A
here.
lot of insights.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks
Yeah.
for having me, guys. Seriously, I appreciate
Yeah.
you reaching out and taking the time to do this.
No, we love that you took the time to talk to us. This made the episode just that much more interesting, to be honest.
Yeah,
Thank
for
you.
sure.
That
been-
hat has made it interesting for me. There we go. I was waiting for it. Yes.
Whip it.
Whip it good.
Whip it good.
For those who
Um,
know, they know.
Yeah.
Let me go ahead.
Yeah, it's been cool seeing a lot of y'all from 1047, hop on to interviews and, just being very, transparent with us in the community. So we appreciate it.
Very much so.
All right, I do
course.
have a raid target. Let's see here.
And
Kowzzz
while
is
he's working on the raid, for everyone in chat, I'm gonna be doing a custom game lobby in like 20 or 30 minutes. With some members of Flood Splitgate. We're just gonna be playing on some community maps and working on getting clips. So if anyone wants to join, you're more than welcome to join. I will probably post the lobby code in the Splitgate Architects Discord.
Awesome.
There you go. People can join up, go play.
Oh, yeah, if anyone who don't know what we are, Splitgate Architects, yeah, there we go. Core just did the command. Yeah, we got a big Discord server. Our community is, centered around content creation, map creation. We like to create resources that are helpful to the players of Splitgate 2 and things like that, like game guides, or like, if you're looking for like Splitgate music or something, like official Splitgate music, we have that somewhere. Things like that. So, like,
Yep. And we try to do community game nights at least every other weekend. We're trying to, I think, get a feel for
Yeah.
that still.
we have a event like once every week, basically. We have it
Yep.
planned weekly. There's always something unique going on too. So, all right. Thank you guys for tuning in. We're gonna say hello to Real Life Spartan.
Real life Spartan.
Don't know what game mode he is doing or anything right now,
Hoorah.
but he's one of the Splitgate 2 MVPs. So let's go say hello to him. All right, peace out, guys.
Adios. Bye bye.